Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Les Oderants, a milestone of a number. I don't know what the bingo callers say for 22, but whatever.
Two little ducks in it or something.
Two little ducks, or two big ducks. Who knows?
I don't know.
Who cares?
It's more like
Two
swans, though, isn't it?
It is more like
Swans.
swans, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is why people tune in. Anyway,
It begins already.
Yeah, it's okay. Nobody tunes in. So say hello to nobody. Say hello, everyone. Fliss, James, Ben.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Amazing. Ben will edit that pause out, and it will sound spontaneous and well.
I might
done.
just make it longer, so it's like slightly more awkward.
like 10, 15 seconds of dead time. Like people wondering what's going on.
They wouldn't, though,
What's
would they?
happened here?
They'd just be like, oh, yeah, it's normal.
It's all right. As I said, there's no one listening. Okay, so we are here, as always, to talk about perfume, all things perfume, all perfume, all the time. Where to start? I feel like starting with James and his full 14, because are you ready, James, or do you need some preparation?
Am I ever fucking ready? Right,
No.
here we go.
I think this is a good place to start because I reckon there's a few things in there, maybe hangovers from the last episode where we didn't get to cover them because of the postal strikes and all that kind of shit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, cool. I'm going to try and make this the most concise, swift 14 ever.
Well,
And,
I mean, anything less than a couple of hours, and that's a win, I'd say.
Yeah, it's not much of a fucking bar, is it? Anyway, right. So I wore Les Indomptables Ambre Supreme because Fliss sent it back to me because she couldn't smell it. So I very, very much appreciate that, by the way, because they actually sent me that for free. That's one thing that I got for free. They sent me a little travel bottle. Little travel spray, and no, I'm still grateful for it.
Of course.
And one of the little ambergris, their ultrasonic ambergris that they have. So I've often thought about that, actually.
What on earth is ultrasonic ambergris?
Well, I've often thought about this, that would putting it in an ultrasonic bath, would that speed up the tincturing process? Which I think is just sort of common sense. But that's their method of doing it. So I don't know whether they don't do it for as long, because obviously usually an ambergris tincture takes about a year or 2 years, or, usually the longer the better. I know, for example, I know some obviously indie perfumers that do it, and I think that's pretty much standard to do it for 2 years.
Is that just because it's not like a particularly porous material, or?
Yeah, I think it's just the longer you do it for, the better, really. I mean, you would think it probably would be porous, wouldn't you? But
I think it is porous.
Because
you're not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I've got a little bit, and you have to keep it dry. So I'm assuming that if it's if it is porous. Yeah.
But I don't know whether it being porous matters to the tincturing. I think it's just over time, because obviously what you're trying to do is impart the essence of that solid into the solvent, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Impart the essence. I like that.
Well, you know what I mean. It's not just you're not asked about it. So it might soak in instantly into the actual thing, but how long does it take for that goodness to come out into the solvent? So anyway, people do it for that amount of time.
I'm just reading about it now, and they use the ultrasound machine to break down the ambergris into the smallest possible pieces.
Right.
So there you go. So they sent me some of that. So anyway, I love it. I know you do, Dan.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic perfume. I'm really gutted for Fliss because she can't really smell much of what's going on with it. But it's fantastic. Just I don't even know. I mean, it has the quality of ambergris to it, but it's a kind of slight bit of rose in there, but not really, and just like loads of just a beautiful amber, sort of slightly floral perfume, but just amazing, really warm, lovely, subtle, gorgeous. Grossmith Diamond Jubilee Bouquet, which you sent to me.
I did. Yes, I did.
And yeah, obviously, I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Really classy, fantastic kind of irisy perfume, was it? I don't really remember. I did write a review at the time, but I'd like just off the top of my head, yeah, it was just a lovely, pretty kind of thing, and just really, really nice. So I like that.
Really like.
I like
that one.
Everything from that brand. I mean,
I do
really good.
too. I saw your Instagram post about Golden Chypre. And I have or had a bottle of Golden Chypre, but I sort of agreed, I think, with the tone of your assessment, which is that probably Hasu no Hana is the better one of the two, and I did sort of think about it over a glass of wine last night and just decided, well, I don't need both in my life, because the Hasu is definitely better in my view, so I sold the Golden Chypre.
Okay. Well, they're very different perfumes. I'd say if I was looking for something for a bit fresher for like summer or something, then definitely the Golden Chypre. But as far as like, it's almost a bit of a cliche just to me to like the Hasu no Hana. It's a bit like, of course I'm going to fucking like that, because it's really like this classical, like floral kind of like structure that, of course, I'm going to like that.
I think that they're all great. I mean, when you say they're completely different, they both to me have that sort of, floral Chypre sort of vibe. I take the point that the Golden Chypre is much lighter and easier going.
Yeah.
But I've never really been a massive fan of light and easygoing perfumes anyway. And actually, I think the Diamond Jubilee fulfills the brief of as light and as easygoing as I need from Grossmith. So anyway, it meant that there was a couple £100 in my bank account rather than sitting on my shelf. So I felt sort of marginally better about my cycle of obsession and despair that is my perfume collecting. So that was good.
Well, amazingly enough, the next day I wore Hasu no Hana.
Amazing.
So yeah, which I never really
coincidence.
do that with brands, but I did.
You say you don't do that, but more often than not, when we do these full 14s, you will rattle off like 4 or 5 from the same brand, because you'll be like immersing yourself in a house. True.
But usually sort of spread out. Like, I don't like to do them on consecutive days, but I have done in this case. And so Hasu no Hana, it's that kind of, there is that sort of yellow floral, slightly jasmine-y kind of just amazing, like, powdery Chypre. It's wonderful. It's just stunning. And like that thing of like, creating a kind of lotus smell. And like I say, lotus oil just smells weird and like nothing else. So it's not even that. It's just like a lovely floral, more of a sort of maybe an imagining of lotus, but there's other stuff in there. Obviously there's like ylang and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's amazing. So then wore Atelier Cologne Santal Carmine, which is always a fragrance that I think you would like, Dan, even though it's quite powdery and almost kind of a little bit girly. You might go, meh, it's shit, or you go, oh yeah, I really like that. I get that kind of like, what's her name? Donna Karan, Cashmere.
Oh yeah.
That one that kind of looks like a mouse. Like a computer mouse, that kind of like vibes from it, or like Fuel a little bit, the other Donna Karan one, and those kind of, it's like powdery, like sweet sandalwood with this sort of berry kind of pink like thing, like pastel-y pink thing to it. I don't know, but I got it and thought, yeah, this is amazing, I love it. And then I was kind of like, that's as far as sort of kind of gourmand that I go. Even though it's not gourmand, it's sort of like a sandalwood thing, but it's almost like got a little bit of that like strawberry shortcake doll's head kind of like thing to it, but it's a big like sandalwood perfume. Anyway, or like those rubbers. Do you remember in the 80s, like fucking people collected rubbers? I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that, but like with loads of like sandalwood. And then I wore a Maison Violette or Violet or whatever. Newy Bluey. I'm just going to call it Newy Bluey. Newy Bluey, yeah.
Newy. All right, mate. It's Newy Bluey.
Newy Bluey.
Yes, was that to the tune of Louis Louis?
Yeah, I was trying to do that, yeah. Thanks for
it
pointing that out. So, yeah, cheers. So, Maison Violet.
I've never heard
nice
of them.
brand. Yeah, you have. You've been checking them out the other week.
Maison Violet.
Remember, you said, I was looking at those. You said it last podcast. Yeah, they're sort of like lanky kind of like Guerlain looking bottles. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I can't even remember what this one was like. It was all right. It was all right. It was kind of it's not. It was good. I remember it was good. I enjoyed it. It's a kind of floral. I told you the last one that I wore was a bit like Misia by Chanel. You know, they do all these kind of classy floral, but they're slightly forgettable in that they're not massively interesting. But one, they're reasonably priced. They're kind of like normal niche sort of prices. I don't know, they're like 130 quid or something for like a bottle. And then like, you know, they're just good. They're just good perfumes, classy kind of French sort of styly, and really good. So whatever Nuit Bluey was, it was nice. I think it's kind of irisy, maybe. Then I wore Acro Awake, which is a coffee perfume by Olivier Cresp, and I think I went like, fuck you, Olivier Cresp, fuck off and all this in the review, because this perfume annoys me. This brand kind of annoys me a little bit. They have got one really good one, but like most of them are shit, and everyone goes on about this Awake like it's like the best coffee perfume. It's shit. It really annoyed me. I just found it really irritating. Well,
you heard it here, folks. It's shit.
Well, I gave it. That's the second chance that I've given it, and I really thought. I just think it's bad, you know. And then inevitably, you know, towards the end of the day, after like about 12 hours of wearing it, I'm like, do I actually really like this or not? No, but then I went, no, I've already slagged off Olivier Cresp, and you know, so I'll stick to my guns on it, even though. But everything, this is what I always say, like everything, like the base notes of pretty much everything are nice after a while, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like loads of things.
I totally agree with that. You know, you can have a perfume that is ostensibly sort of bobbins for the first few hours, and then maybe like after 8 hours or something, you'll smell it and go, oh, that's quite nice. But all it is the sort of dying embers of something that you didn't like very much, but now it smells all right, and you can sort of convince yourself that it's all right, but it isn't. It's
kind of like a more bitter, modern, it's kind of psycho coffee version of like Angel or something. It sort of I don't know what it reminded me of. I don't like it though. It can go away. Then I wore.
Sorry, James. Just quick. Weren't you more complimentary about the rest of the brand, though? Because
I recommended one to you because I thought you'd really like it, and that's the only good one, in my opinion. The others,
is that the smoke one?
a bit shit.
Or haze or something, is it called?
No. It's called Dark or Night. It's either called Dark or Night. It's a rose and cumin. It's kind of like really sweaty, but it's modern and kind of, it's almost like, it's like a rose, like declaration type perfume. It's that like really spicy, almost like transparent, like kind of Jean-Claude Helena kind of style, but it's very sweaty. It's got like literally like body odor kind of thing. Again, not always my kind of style, but I like the sort of the kind of modern vibe of it. I like the fact that it's this kind of really almost like pretty kind of modern rose that's supposed to be all like, lifting and stuff, and then it's got this sweatiness to it. So yeah, I really like that one. It's either night or dark. I think it might be night. I don't know, one of those anyway. Then I wore Francesca Bianchi, The Lover's Tale. Now, I feel as though I've kind of been a bit mean to her, even though I've like spoken to her, and I really like her as a person, and I really like, I do kind of like what she's doing, but a few of them that people were hyping just really annoyed me. Like the ones that I thought were a bit fucking meh and were a bit heavy-handed, like Under My Skin, which I kind of thought was like this like spicy, heavy, like ambery, resiny perfume that was like nice. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's bad, but then it was like, oh, it's dead animalic and stuff as well, and it's got this kind of like under my skin sort of like animalic thing. Yeah, it does, but all it smells like to me is this civet replacer which they make from some kind of like vegetable shit, and it's really one-dimensional, and it just like sinks to the bottom of every composition, and that's all you can smell. And I'm just like, that's really lazy and shit. And I just kind of said that because loads of people were banging on about this perfume, thought it was great. So that's a kind of hangover from all that. But most of the other ones, apart from Sex and the Sea and Sex and the Sea Neroli, which I just don't like, right? I'm not slagging off the technique or anything. I just don't like them. I don't like the smell of them. I don't like the way they're just horrible. And I understand like why some people could like them. But all the other stuff, I pretty much really quite like, She's bungs loads of orris in. She's got loads of orris butter in this thing, this Lover's Tale. My God, it's like, and it's got this leather accord, and it is a real accord. She's actually made an accord that smells, there's so many different ways of smelling like leather, and this does it in a kind of really unique, really good, really like long-lasting, beautiful way. Great perfume, love it. It's also a bit powdery and a bit like thing, but it's kind of sexy and leathery, and yeah, it's really good. So I really have enjoyed wearing that.
I'm quite surprised by that, because like Lover's Tale is my favourite Francesca Bianchi, and I think it's brilliant, but I thought you would hate it, because knowing your criticisms of her being like a bit of a sledgehammer and all the rest of it, I think like out of all of them, that's like one of the ones that hits you in the face the hardest. It's really doesn't mess around.
I know what you mean. And there's another one called The Dark Side, which has this kind of duality that I love. It's got like really stanky kind of oud, and it smells like real oud. There's definitely oud in that, right? And then it's got this nice powdery so that is kind of the whole vibe of her perfume, is this kind of like duality sort of thing of like really heavy and but with this kind of powdery sort of feminineness, but like not. It's great. So yeah, I do actually really like loads of her perfumes. It's just a couple that I really don't like, and they've kind of, so I felt I needed to wear that and be like, look, I need to praise her stuff. I really want to try that musk one, because like, who doesn't like a good musk, and certainly made by her, I'm sure it's amazing. Also, sorry, Dan, this is 15 this week. And,
what the fucking fuck, man?
Anyway,
Get out.
I wore Atelier Mattieri Poivre Pomelo.
Okay, cross that one off.
Which is a kind of pomelo. All right, we won't talk about that.
Just
it's
cross
fine.
one off.
It smells a bit of pomelo and sandalwood. No, I'm not talking about
it doesn't.
No.
Yeah. So we're sticking to 14. Good.
Okay, cool. Right, so then, so just scratch that one. Yeah, you can actually cut that out, Ben, if you want.
Yeah,
so then,
leave it in.
People go, why have you jumped from Sunday to Tuesday? What's going on? So Tuesday.
I don't think they will.
They will. I tell you, there's full 14 files, right? Who will be like, what is going on? Why has he jumped?
I think you are.
He didn't do that on his Instagram.
Not matching my chart.
This has now taken longer as if just
well, that's always the way. But I think you are making quite a few assumptions there, James.
Well,
I mean, first and foremost, that we have any listeners. Secondly,
it always used to be
the
my
full
favourite.
14. But not anymore.
Yeah.
She fucking hates it now, James.
I have to sit through it now. I can't put it on pause.
Right, back to James.
You have to do it live in one sitting. Right, okay. So then there's Roger Dove, Parfum de la Nuit No. 2, which I thought was shite.
Oh, fuck off.
It's one of
not shite. How could you say that?
It's one of Dan's favourite perfumes. And it's
absolutely...
It's rubbish. I think you said it was like Le Leon as well, which is like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm going with Fliss on the fucking Shalimar, right? It smells like Shalimar far more than it smells like this fucking de la Nuit bullshit, right? So, and that bottle's like £1,000, £1,000 fucking pounds. I know you probably didn't pay that for it, but like,
that.
Yeah, but
you really
how much
didn't
did
like
you pay?
anything about it.
No, I did. I didn't. I'm being
putting away the hyperbole, because it strikes me that it's a big, boozy sort of woody amber, and that ought to be right up your street.
Yeah. Right, okay, I do this quite often to get a fucking rise out of you, but of course I didn't hate it. I mean, it was okay, it was all right.
I don't care whether you hate my perfumes. I mean,
no, I know you don't.
I'm crying.
I know you
here,
don't.
but...
No, I know you don't. But I'm just, in all honesty, my whole thing about it, and this is a callback to our value, for the money and expectations and perceptions and all that. That I think that for that being like, to me, like the way that dries down, it smells like kind of, again, this is oversimplification, but it smells a lot like fucking ISOE Super and like Norlimbanol or something like that. So it's these really, really woody, like fluffy kind of shit, but it's very top loaded as well, right? And I hate that term because I hate that fucking shit band who did that horrible tune that wasn't even there. There wasn't even their tune.
I fucking hate that. Honestly, that song sends me into a fucking frenzy of rage. I despise it so much. And it's one of those kind of like, where did that come from? And it's like some term of like when you put all the dope in one end of the joint. And I'm like, who does that? Like, if my fucking mate did that, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, apparently that's where the name for the band comes from. So. And that's the thing, like perfume technique of like more about that fucking band than I ever wanted to.
I don't know. I thought there was some kind of like trust fund,
first you come at me with fucking 15 perfumes, then you put the boot into PDLN2, and then you fucking explain about Top Load of the band. I mean, honestly, this is like the worst night of my life.
Okay, right. So I'm saying about the concept of top loading in a perfume where you've got loads of interesting stuff to begin with, and then it kind of dries down to what the fuck is it? Like if I made that, I'd be like, this is not a successful perfume because it's nice and stuff. I do this all the time where I make something and I go, it smells amazing for this amount of time, and then it starts to lose it, and then it becomes, it just smells like loads of ISOE Super because about 60% of it is ISOE Super. But that's the kind of technique of being able to make, because the start bit wouldn't smell like that if it didn't. Anyway, and I expect more, and it's not because of materials. I don't care, and I made this quite clear, that you could make something out of all synthetic materials that are dead cheap. If it was an amazing piece of art, and I was like, I want to buy that, I'd still never spend Roger Dove money on it. But let's say this was a normal indie brand, right? There was no Dove associations with it, right? And it just was what it was. I would go, it's a really woody, boozy. That opening of booze is kind of like, I'd describe it as like to me, that Enigma one has like almost like a rum CO2, like a real rum smell to it. Whereas this has more of a like rum and raisin fucking ice cream sort of like thing to it. But like rubbed into the kind of grain of like really woody. It's just incredibly woody. And I'm like, I like it. I'd wear it. It's fine. And if it was 200 quid, I'd be like, look, if that's what you want, fine. But the fact that it's like £1,000 for this bottle of perfume, I'm like, that's a bit shit. And I'm somebody who's saying this, who loves loads of Roger Dove perfumes. If you want to pay £1,000 for like Diaghilev, I don't know how much Diaghilev is. I don't think it's that much. But even though that's like mildly derivative of like loads of other like perfumes that came before it, like Guerlain's and stuff like that, if you really want to pay for that, I can see the quality and the craftsmanship and whatever. I just can't see it in this. Sorry, but it's just, I can't.
So I'm not about to make a defence for Roger Dove's pricing, which is obscene by almost any measure. But I do think when you consider a Roger Dove perfume, you should probably just park the issue of price altogether and just say, look, this is not perfume I'm ever going to buy because I think it's overpriced. Just do I like the perfume or not, right?
I know that.
And for me, I really love that perfume. You asked me how much I paid. I think it was about 400, maybe 450. And that was that's a lot, right, for a bottle of perfume.
Yeah.
And I would only do that for something that I really, really loved. I really, really love that perfume. And it connects for me clearly a lot more than it did for any of the rest of you. I think Ben liked it, but I don't think...
I liked it.
No one... I mean, I think, James, it sounds like you liked it, but you didn't love it.
I did like it. Yeah, I did like it.
And Fliss didn't even like it.
I liked it, but I can see James's criticisms of it. I think it was quite top-heavy, and I think it also dried down to something that was kind of like, woods. Like... I don't think I don't think I sort of brought it up because I wouldn't necessarily criticise it because I quite liked that. I don't mind perfumes that do that, but I can see what James is saying, especially when you...
It's purely based on the price, and I know we've tried to park that and put it to one side and be objective and just say, what do you think of this smell of perfume? But unfortunately, perfume is about all these other things. It's about the fucking bottle. It's about all the bullshit. So, that is that. So I can't park it. Yeah, sometimes I have to go into that. And this is the thing where if somebody gives a detailed explanation of why they think, if it's a technical reason, if it's a emotional fucking reason, if it reminds them of something or whatever it might be, then as long as it's valid and they have a process that they've worked through to say, I either really love this or I hate it, then I'm fine with it. It's just those kind of like, sort of like bland opinions where I'm like, I don't know whether you've really thought about this, but you're really slagging it off and trashing it. Whereas I like to think that I give it a bit more thought than that. Anyway, so...
You are the arbiter, after all. So.
Well, you know. So anyway, then I wore Davidoff Zeno, which we all know it's kind of patchouli, sort of very round patchouli perfume, but it has like the soapy, masculine 80s, 70s, powerhousey kind of vibes to it. Love that perfume. I can see why it's sort of a lot of people don't. Do you like it, Fliss? You like a good patchouli, don't you?
Have you smelled Tom Ford Beau de Jour? Because it's basically all but identical.
But not enough to remember. Oh, really? I think I might need to try it before I say anything.
I really enjoyed Zeno. It's very nice, and it's a great example of an inexpensive perfume that's stood the test of time. Worth getting.
So then I wore V et Armis by Beaufort London, which we all spoke about. Which we all spoke about the other week. Kind of smoky tea and other bits and bobs. I really liked it, and when I was sat here going, I really like it. When I actually wore it for a whole day, I actually ended up wearing something else, but only because I went swimming and I was like, I don't think I can hack putting that on to then have for like the last like 3 hours of the day, because then I'm like, I'm going to be going to bed smelling like I'm in a fucking battle and there's like, cannon fucking smoke. I'll be having like flashbacks in my fucking sleep or something. So I was like, I'd need something a bit more comforting than that. And I'd been for a swim and stuff, so I was like, I'm going to be all like, chlorine-y and stuff. So I wore Scent Story 24 Gold, which is just kind of quite a ridiculous perfume, really.
Didn't we talk about this one previously? I'm sure we did.
Well, I brought it up, yeah. I mean, it's, it smells like kind of really overly sweet Arabic
It smells like every Arabic amber sort of attar-based kind of perfume.
Yeah, basically. Then I wore this, which I've actually got in my hand here.
I can't see. You're not big enough on my screen.
I sent it to you.
You sent it to me. Yeah, you did. So that is Fahrenheit Parfum, right? Mm-hmm. I loved it.
What's it like?
I really liked it.
I'm such a Fahrenheit fan.
Well,
I was expecting you to have bought a bottle, to be honest, Dan. I thought I
only tried it this afternoon. I only tried it this afternoon, and I'm going to. It strikes me as so. I wrote in my extensive notes, surprisingly fruity. It strikes me as quite a fruity rose almost, but it's not like sicky, like sugary. It's just quite, I don't know, like a sort of rose cocktail of some sort of description. But I really, really liked it. It's not as petrol-y and sort of leathery and masculine as well, masculine / feminine, whatever, as the original, but it's a very good perfume for sure.
It's very sweet and vanillic. I think certainly like the base, but it does have, right, and it's funny that it does not mention that at all, and no one ever really did. Like when it first came out, I was like, it's got that cumin, like caraway spice to it, right, and it that is a really interesting dynamic to add to the Fahrenheit thing. And I think what's interesting is that obviously Demachi, it was kind of put in my review that it was like one of his last like kind of things before they put him out to pasture, which is kind of, maybe a bit unfair. But no, it was kind of, he was assigned to do a perfume that was like obviously a really iconic perfume. This is not just like, another flanker of Fahrenheit, of which there's been quite a few, but not that many, and I think he did a really good job of making a parfum version. It's kind of boozy, like you say, it's sweet, it's very fruity, it's got this kind of round, very sweet vanillic thing, but it has this like cumin, caraway kind of note. It's a bit like Blink and you'll kind of miss it, but it's there. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting.
So I didn't pick it up. Weirdly, I didn't pick up the cumin. Weirdly, I thought it smelled a little bit like YSL Tuxedo.
Okay.
I'm not really sure why. But
I mean, the Fahrenheit is so, like, it is prominently has a Fahrenheit, like, violet, like that really sweet hawthorn, like, smell to it as well. He's captured that like absolutely perfectly, and he obviously the methyl octane carbonate, which is like the well, that's the material that is like the thing that I think of the violet, the petrol-y, leathery violet essence of Fahrenheit. I smell that material and I go, that's what they essentially made it around. And now it's been kind of restricted, like it got to the point where it was getting restricted, and now you can use more. So essentially that's why Fahrenheit, well, maybe that might be one of the contributing factors as to why the new Fahrenheits are getting closer to what the old ones were. So that's, interesting little tidbit.
I didn't know that they de-restricted things. I always thought that it was...
Of course you did, because that's what people think.
James is about to get onto his soapbox. Pass him
I'm about to get on my fucking IFRA rant.
I genuinely didn't realise.
Yeah, of course they do. When more data becomes available, they go, oh, actually, we were a bit over fucking zealous there, and we can use more of it because, we've got more data and it's deemed to be, okay to use more of it. So... yes, things do get de-restricted quite a lot, actually. It's a little bit... because it just happens with each amendment, so it's every few years. And, a lot of the time, the more data that comes out, they're getting towards that happening less because they know more about the materials, do you know what I mean? It's like anything else. But, yeah, I mean, certainly not in the last one, but the one before, whichever amendment that was, 48 or something... that was there was quite a lot that got de-restricted, so it's worth thinking about that. They're not trying to take away everything and fucking get rid of your oak moss and whatever. So okay, so hang on, sorry,
is it still in production, the Fahrenheit parfum?
Not got a clue. Again, I bought it on the day it came out. I went in the shop. You were surprised when I said about the Dior, the what was the other one? The Homme Parfum that I bought.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, those two releases I was really anticipating to the point where I bought them immediately they came out. I don't know what's happened with it now. Is it still available? Not got a clue.
I was just looking on eBay. It's like about 150 quid, so my guess is...
Oh, so it's not. Yeah. Great perfume, though. Worth it. I mean, I'd pay 150 quid for a bottle, to be honest. Okay, so anyway, so nearly finished. I wore Celine Night Clubbing, which is a fragrance that I've nearly sent to you all on numerous occasions and then just haven't because, it just gets out of hand with stuff. And
I nearly appreciated it on several occasions.
Well, no, I mean, I've thought it and then gone, no, well, I'm kind of, you don't want to, I was going to say something disgusting then, but I'm not going to. You don't want to, you want to keep the wolf from the door, so to speak. You know what I mean? Right. So, no, Celine Night Clubbing is a kind of...
I think I know what he's getting at. Sorry. You don't want to shoot your load on one shot.
Well, you didn't have to say it, did you?
But that's what you were getting at, right?
Well, that was what I was getting at, you dirty boy. So, Celine Night Clubbing is amazing. It's like 3 main elements, loads of like really classy, beautiful, orris buttery, really nicely made like orris with galbanum, which is kind of really green, shocking kind of resin that like goes from like base to like top notes. And then the slight remnant of like smoke, like when you used to like smoke indoors, which you used to be able to do, and your clothes, it smells like after a night out, and you smell vaguely of like really nice perfume, like a really nice orris perfume, and a little bit of like ciggy smoke, which doesn't sound great, but it is. And this kind of green, it's a revelation of a perfume. I think it's the best one. I've only tried a couple of the other ones, but it's an amazing perfume. It's really good because it's that whole chic Chanel, Dior, it's that sort of brand. I think it is an LVMH brand. I think it is. Yeah.
Probably. Almost all brands are these days.
Yeah. And it is superb. Like I can't, and the pricing is pretty reasonable for, what it is. I think they're about 200 quid. And yeah, I love it. So that is that. And then today I'm wearing Terre de Hermès parfum.
Boom.
Which speaks for itself. Boom.
Yeah. The parfum I'm actually less a fan of. I prefer the eau de toilette.
So do I.
The parfum I find a bit on the earthy side, but
I don't find it as earthy. That's weird.
Really?
So yeah, I don't think it's as earthy.
It's much more like soily and dirty and darker. I definitely strong
That's why
I have a strong preference for the EDT, much brighter. Anywho. Right, good. That was a it's about 35 minutes to get through 14 perfumes. It's not bad. 15 if you count the Renegade one that we didn't talk about. So I have a few that you might recognise. I often feel like I'm sort of, reading out a list of random sort of bullshit that no one's ever heard of, not because I'm particularly tuned into like these micro brands, just because I get sent lots of shit to review. But no, I recently bought Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Mal, which is like baffling to me. I'd sort of got it into my head that this was a really sickly sweet bubble gummy kind of thing, and I'd sort of convinced myself of that. I used to wear it years and years ago, but I guess my memory of it has sort of it's sort of over time my memory of it has kind of shaped it and turned it into something that I didn't want to wear. Do you think it's the flankers that have done that? Because some of those flankers have been more bubblegummy. Like the possibly. Recent ones, like the Parfum and stuff like that. It has been, yeah. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I got a bottle, a 1997 bottle. It comes in a giant, like weird egg with a soap. I saw it. It was like a Attack of the 60-Foot Torso, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, I posted the picture of it on Instagram, yeah. I photoshopped it onto a beach, so it looked like it was 60 foot tall. But no, it comes in a weird fucking egg, which I can't find now. But it's actually really, really fucking nice. I mean, I sprayed a few sprays of it thinking, yeah, I'm not going to go too hard at this because I'm pretty sure I'm going to feel nauseous by the end of the day from it. And the whole day I just kept getting wafts of it thinking, fuck me, that's really good. I can see why.
You got what, Dan?
I got what?
Wafts.
Wafts.
You got
Yeah,
wafts?
am I allowed to say wafts?
Did you get
Yeah,
wafts?
I got wafts. Right. I can't remember why this is a problem. Is this because I took the piss out of you for saying wafts too much last week? Yes, it is. Good, right, okay. Good, right. So, no, I didn't get wafts. I got faint drifting, I don't know. What's a better word than waft? So, anyway, I enjoyed it. There is a one, which is why wafts
Did you
from the
see
loft.
Wafts from the Loft, how hard he went in on this stuff?
Is that Uncut Gem?
Yeah.
No, I didn't, actually.
It's kind of made me hate him a little bit. And, just wanted...
you can't hate Dan.
Oh, you can't.
Oh, yeah, we're in the fucking loft with an organ and fucking Tarquin touched my bum at fucking private school. I hate that. I hate those Fuck those guys, man. They're fucking assholes. Fuck them.
So, I hate to think what you say about us.
I'm only messing.
On other podcasts.
No, I genuinely, I do like those guys. They're good, aren't they? Like,
Touch
do you know
my
what I mean?
bum, Tarquin. Yeah.
You know what I mean. You knew what I meant. You know what I meant.
Yes. Well, they're well-spoken boys. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Anyway, no, I didn't see how hard they went on that. Cause, and I have said this before, and it's not like an affectation, but I genuinely just don't really watch YouTube fragrance reviewers. It
was on Instagram, to be honest. It was just an Instagram story, so yeah, I'm just blowing it up into a big thing. And plus, I don't really even like that perfume very much. It's just because I'm a bit bitter because, like, Frederick Malle kind of made me buy that travel spray. Couldn't be arsed sending it back. So I just kind of kept it. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think we did say was that effect. You just won't send it back, even though they've said you can send it back. Okay, so anyway, back to my list of jobbies. So I also got a bottle of the new Gaultier. Is it Squared? Do you call it Squared or is it 2 or what?
Oh yeah, they re-released it, didn't they?
That's right.
So much love on the groups, or just like general hype-trainish excitement?
I mean, so the original sort of passed me by. I think I'd probably at that point I was probably not sort of that much into designer perfumes, and it just sort of slipped by me, to be honest. But I did. Weirdly, I do have an old bottle because a mate of mine from work was clearing out a desk at an old office, found like a pristine bottle. It's like 2 bottles that sort of magnet clip together.
Didn't you give those little dinky ones?
Yeah, I had the dinky ones, the samples that came with it, but yeah, I kept the 2 bigger bottles, although I ended up being blagged into giving one of them to Dave. So now I've got a fucking magnetic bottle without its magnetic counterpart, which is a fucking stupid position to find myself in. Anyway, I really enjoyed that, and so I thought, well, when they said they were re-releasing it, cool, all right, so I'll buy a bottle. Is it
the same magnet bottle? Sorry, can I just...
No.
No, right.
No, so the magnet bottle, I think... I don't know whether... What's that? What are you
is that it? Oh, I see. Yeah. That's the new one.
It's the bottle, yeah.
Yeah, so it's... anyway, whatever. It's very nice. I wore it actually today. I sprayed quite a lot of it. It's not... I don't think it's as strong as the other one, as the original, but that might just be sort of aging or whatever. But it smells very nice. It's quite feminine, floral, amber sort of thing. Very sweet.
Cool.
Well, I don't quite know why it's got so much fucking love for it, but it's all right. It's nice.
No, so that's kind of what I was going to say, right? So I was quite surprised, like, because so I'm like on the Jean Paul Gaultier mailing list just because I quite like their clothes, right? And they sent me like I said they sent me, but they sent out a mailing list, and like there was loads of hype for this perfume, and like the reason I got that up is because they were for a couple of weeks now they've been like marketing it really heavily, like early access, like pre-orders, and get in because the king is back and all this stuff. And I was like, hey, I don't remember like this much love for this perfume. I know it's just marketing, and of course they're not going to say, oh, we're releasing a perfume, it's a bit shit, probably don't worry about buying it. Actually, they're going to hype it, aren't they? But I was quite surprised at just how much hype, and how much money they've spent in the marketing of it. That
would be quite a weird marketing technique. We've released this perfume, it's a bit shit, don't bother buying it.
Sort of like what we do with this podcast, though, isn't it? It's sort of like...
No, that is fair, yeah. We made this podcast, it's a bit shit, don't bother listening.
The thing is about that one, it's definitely... Because I remember when it was in shops, and I wasn't that interested in it. And like I think like this hype, like you're saying, Ben, has got to be to do with hardcore like fans and people who've elevated the price of like secondhand bottles rather than like the general, because I don't know if it was a massive seller if they're saying, oh yeah, the king's back and all this kind of shit. So maybe it's just a tactic to get it hyped on the likes of sort of YouTube and stuff like that.
So that what they say about kind of how whatever music you're listening to about the age of 16 or 17, that's pretty well the same music you're going to listen to for more or less the rest of your life. And I think there's probably a little bit of that with some of these designer fragrances, which were sort of quite accessible. If they sort of take you back to your kind of the headier days of your adolescence or your slut era, as the kids are calling it these days. True, they do.
Do they really?
Slut era. Yeah, look that shit up. Look that shit up, fam. It is. I think it's easy to see why people would sort of want to bring back a perfume that sort of transports them there. But I quite liked it. Same as you. Passed me by when it came out. I quite liked it when I tried it not so long ago. I bought a bottle. I'll keep it. That's about the end of that story, really.
I'm still reeling about the slut thing. I mean, your daughters didn't tell you that, did they?
No.
It's like...
Fuck no.
Right. Well, I was going to say, if they're like, oh, it's called slut era, Dad, you'd be like, what?
Yeah, so the term slut era is non-gender specific, but it basically refers to the sort of the time in your life when, before you settle down and form monogamous relationships and all that kind of stuff.
That means mine's still cracking on then.
Yeah, you're still living through your
40 years old and going strong.
Yeah. Anyway, right, so I'm going to get through this. I also wanted to say I bought a bottle of perfume on Amazon for £17. And it's very nice. It's Marbert Man. Have you tried Marbert Man? No?
No.
Hey, see, I would have thought Marbert Man would be right up your street, James. I think it is one of those Mora and Wurz or whatever fragrances. Yeah. It's very German. It is a... it's sort of classic fougere sort of territory with a load of... to me, it's slightly soapy, slightly... maybe smoky tobacco as well, but with a sort of fougere sort of sensibility. It's really fucking good. And the reason I bought this randomly was I picked up some Marbert Man shower gel at TK Maxx because I had a nice red bottle and I thought I'll try that. And I quite like the smell of it, so I thought, I wonder if they do an EDT. Yes, they do. I can get it on Amazon for 17 quid. And it's really fucking enjoyable. I will have to send... it's barely worth sending you any, but go on, Ben, you have your finger up.
This bottle is fucking epic. So it's like square, and then it says Marbot Man.
It's German engineering.
Classic. Yeah, and then it says classic eau de toilette, and then right in the middle, Germany. As if, like, of course it's German. Like, I could see that before I read that. It's fucking majestic. No messing, mate. Just like Marbot Man, classic eau de toilette.
Germany.
Well, I was just looking to see if I could find it, but I've obviously placed it on some shelf high and far away. But it is, it's fucking great, and for 17 quid, honestly. And also, it got me a compliment, which is, which was,
Make a top 10 list out of that.
Yeah, fucking right. Top 10 £15 Amazon fragrances to get you compliments off the wife.
From Germany.
Yeah, why not? Why the fuck not? Anyway, so Marbot Man, a couple of other German ones as well. I can't remember whether I mentioned this on the last one. Had we been to Bath? No, I don't think we had. So we went to Bath, or Bath, as you might call it, and I went into a chemist. I had a headache and I wanted to get some paracetamol.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns out this pharmacy that I went to was like the oldest pharmacy in the UK, and they've got all those sort of those glass potion sort of jars. And
I love those. I love those.
It's I did put some photos on Facebook, but it's fucking amazing. It's like being transported back through time. Anyway, I bought a couple of Boulder Serini fragrances there.
Nice.
Yeah, strictly private, which is a sort of quite nice amber sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. I know it.
And the is it just called cologne for men, perhaps? In the clear
is
bottle.
It blue? Oh, clear bottle.
No, clear bottle. I'm now going to have to check, but it's unspeakably beautiful as a perfume. It's just very, very weak is the only downside, but just stunningly nice.
Funnily enough, that's another kind of German one, isn't it? Even though it sounds Italian.
Yeah, no, Boulder Serini was
Hugo
a German
Boss,
dude.
They?
Yeah, but I think he's German, isn't he?
Oh, I know they're owned by Hugo Boss. Oh, right.
Well, he was a designer who worked for Hugo Boss.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just called Boulder Serini Eau de Cologne.
Okay.
Ooh.
I know a few of those, even the aquatic ones. They're all really quite good.
Yeah, this surprised the absolute
great
shit out of
value.
me. Yeah, it was like 20 quid. So yeah, those. And the new Clive Christian Timeless, which is fucking amazing. I'm sure you'll all hate me for going on about really expensive perfume, but it is an amazingly good perfume. It's got that sort of traditional cologne top, but somehow just goes on, and then sort of slowly morphs into this quite sweet woody amber, and it's exquisite. I love it. Absolutely smitten by that one. Anyway, that's me babbling on about fucking perfumes. Why don't we hear from, I'm going to save the best till last, so let's hear from you, Ben. You're the second best.
Yeah, I see that one coming. So I've had a couple this week. So probably one that I really, really liked was Splendiris by Decita. Which is something I've been really wanting to try for a really, really long time, because I really love the way that the perfumer, which I've forgotten her name, it's like something Uma Vajani, isn't it?
Yeah, Uma Vajani.
Prasanna.
You remember? Yeah. Yes, Prasanna, I think it is. Yeah, is it?
Yeah. So I really like the way she handles florals. Yeah. But I really like the way she handles florals, so I really wanted to try the Iris one for a really long time. And it's exactly as I thought it would be, actually. It's just like this really, really sort of like gentle, fragile kind of iris that leads to... It's a bit like, actually... what was that? The Iris perfume that Dan sent us last week.
Yeah, the Diamond Rose Jubilee one.
Yeah, with the vetiver in it. It was a bit like that, but imagine that, but sort of glacier and somehow more like Scandinavian almost. Had this sort of like glassy kind of glacial vibe to it. And I think if you like Iris perfume, it's probably the polar opposite of the Francesca Bianchi one that you were mentioning. But although what I like about like with this Decita and the way she sort of handles florals, generally speaking, is like they're sort of fragile, and she deals with like, you know, they're quite. You get the bitterness of the stem and everything, like, you know, it's sort of green, it's floral, it's a very like photorealistic sort of flower, but at the same time she kind of manages to hone in on this kind of the thicker, fuller part of the perfume, and then kind of drive that up to still, so it still gives you a big punch. So it's this kind of like dichotomic kind of presentation that I really appreciate with Decita. And it was bang there with the Splendiris, and I really liked it. It was exactly what I hoped from
very much like
Iris perfume.
The word dichotomic.
Yes.
It has a sort of slight whiff of made-upness to it. But
yeah,
I like
does it exist?
But I like it a lot.
It definitely exists, yeah.
Dichotomic.
Okay. Fliss, you looked like you were going to say something during that. What was it?
I was going to say that I haven't tried anything from the Decita brand, and I keep thinking that I should, because this week, I don't know what my algorithm on Insta is, but Decita's been coming up like loads. So I should really organise myself for like a little...
I've got a few testers that I can send you because they're fucking expensive.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but I've got a few samples that I can send you.
Are they worth it?
Well,
worth the fucking expensiveness?
I think so.
I think that, like you say, she gets the most out of really beautiful like floral absolutes and stuff that she uses, but she makes them, and do you know how she does it a lot of the time, and this is probably why you love them so much, Ben. We're talking about that dichotomic kind of thing. Well,
I've just checked. That is a word. It's the adjective
I know it's a word.
It's the adjective.
Don't doubt
dichotomy.
Ben. He knows it's a word. So like basically she uses like kind of like tea, hay, those tea and hay kind of things, which almost like mimic kind of like oak moss. So they get, even though they make the florals like more beautiful, and like it, she's really good with florals. So, I love her perfumes. They're a bit pricey, but it you know, if you're in love with them, then get it.
So here's what you've just done to my brain, which is quite annoying, but here's a little insight into my brain now. When you were mentioning those two words, I thought you were spelling something in some weird language. That you the T, hey, V, hey. So it sounded like you were spelling something out. T.
Have you been on the fucking edibles this week? Jesus Christ!
I haven't. But anyway, right. What the fuck is happening, Ben? Anything else you want to talk about apart from Decita?
Yeah, one last one that I know you hate is Oud Mineral by Tom Ford.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like that at all.
I love it. I think it's really nice.
You see, that's exactly not the adjective I'd choose for it. See, nice sort of suggests something, you know, kind of tame and pleasant. But I found that the sort of...
You'd call it a wanker, wouldn't you?
I'd call it a fucking cunt, mate. No, I don't. I just didn't like it. It's that salty sort of marine note is just really oppressively strong in it, I thought, and it just made me it sort of made me feel a bit seasick, weirdly. I really dislike that perfume. Sorry.
But interestingly, like, I think it's, so you're going to really hate me for this, right? But I don't think it's that different from, and it reminds me of what James was just saying, of PDLN 2 or whatever, the road trip.
Fuck! Oh!
But I need to clarify this. I need to clarify.
No, you're fucking right. You need to clarify this, mate.
So there's in the sense of what James was saying earlier about how it being very top loaded, and then once you get past that, it's just all kind of like synthetic woods, because that's essentially what Oud Mineral is as well. And after about, I don't know, 2-3 hours of getting that saltiness, and once that's gone, you're essentially just smelling this kind of quite dark, rendition of synthetic woods, which I quite like, and it's why I like PDLN too as well.
Yeah, but the PDLN for me has this sort of animalic sort of.
They're very different perfumes. Don't get me wrong.
It's the saltiness. I find marine fragrances really a bit hit and miss. Weirdly, I tried one earlier this week. Someone sent me a sample of it. I'll just see if I can find it here, because I can't even remember what it was called. I think it was called Diabolic, and it was a fragrance called Ginkgo, which is some like tiny Italian house. I don't know where the fuck it's gone, but it's a salty sort of marine note, but it's got a maybe a strawberry or a lychee, sort of like some sort of quite pleasant sweet fruit, not overpowering and sort of like turbocharged, but just enough to make it really fucking sing, and the salt and that driftwood sort of vibe is not overpowering, but on the whole I find them a bit overpowering.
Have you tried Menditarosa Archetepo?
Yes, I quite liked it. I used to have a bottle.
I really like that, and I think that's similar to Even Around, but better and more complex. And I think probably, I thought maybe you might prefer something like that, because it's got a bit more aromatic kind of vibe to it, hasn't it?
Do you own any of those? I really like. I mean, what do we think about the bottles for those?
So I don't own any, but Archetepo is high up on my wish list.
Are you talking about the Menditarosa bottles?
Yeah.
Well, the bottles are just big sort of utilitarian sort of thick efforts, isn't it? It's the caps that are all the
the capsule
design is. I quite like them. I mean, they're not very practical, truth be told, but nice. I've just found that Diabolic Ginkgo sample though. This I'm almost certainly gonna have to buy a bottle of this because it's fucking nuts. Anyway, time is marching.
Yeah, that's about me anyway.
Yeah.
So Fliss.
Go on, Fliss. You haven't been wearing any perfume, have you?
No, I don't know. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? No, I couldn't be arsed this week. No, I have actually. I was going to say that the highlight of my 2 weeks since last talking about what I've been wearing was meeting Matt Keane.
Yay!
Sense. He happened to come to my hometown to meet friends, and we met up. It was really brief. We only had like about an hour, and he bought some stuff for me to try.
Yeah, he's lovely.
Really nice, and I know he's just gorgeous. And he gave me a couple of spritz of Waking Dream by Mattia Olfactive, which I think you mentioned
Mattia
last
Olfactive?
week.
Mayor Olfactive.
Is it Mayor? And maybe I've just typed it wrong. I probably just typed it wrong in my notes. Waking Dream, anyway.
I think so. Maher. I haven't tried that one. Because that's an American guy called, I think, Scott Mayer, who makes some quite funky perfumes. I know Matt has got a few of those, so it's probably one of them.
It was very funky, actually. It was really cool. It was very fizzy and sherbety. It wasn't too sweet. I know we've done a lot of those kind of sherbety perfumes recently with trick or treats and stuff. But it didn't feel like that overly sugary feel, and it was very airy, and it was fun to wear. And as I was wafting about, 2 people said I smelled nice.
Were you one of those 2 people?
That's nice.
It doesn't count if you're saying it to yourself.
I say it to myself. Does it? Well, in that case, 3 people said it.
Nice.
And then he also gave me a sample of the Juice Box Visionary Eye, which is really irisy.
It's nice.
But very modern iris. Yeah, I really like it. It put me in mind, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it put me in mind of a much better made Farrell Girl, in as much as it had that similar
better made
airy, it just felt more refined, but it felt very similar to in the terms of the job that it does, which was is it kind of quite light watery iris, and then this nice, again, light woods.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's
I
not
guess
heavy.
Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me. I'm just processing
anyway.
that. I might try them together.
And in terms of the texture and the feel, I felt that they are quite similar, but obviously the juice box just felt more refined. It had more stuff going on. But if you like one, you probably will very much like.
Well, I do like them both, so I shall try them together.
Yeah. Then I had a bit of a revelation, and I discovered, and I'm sure that everyone else has already discovered this about a million years ago, but I discovered Pacha de Cartier, but the parfum version, which was released in 2020. Oh, I bought a partial because somebody said that it was quite like the Cartier Oud and Santal, which I love, and there was quite a large partial in one of the groups, and I thought that'll do as a stocking filler for my hubby. But he ain't getting it because it is so nice. I am keeping it.
Unlucky husband.
Unlucky husband. It's really, really gorgeous. Huge, sweaty opening. Way, way, way sweatier than the
Oud Santal's very polite, really.
Very polite, but this has got quite a skanky opening, and then when it dries down, it becomes really gourmandy, very gourmand, nutty sandalwood, and dare I say it, cosy, and it really reminds me of Stash by Sarah Jessica Parker. And if you like Stash, which is really discontinued, and I always think that it was much, much, better than the price point gave away, and it goes for a lot on eBay now. But if you like Stash and you can cope with that sweaty opening, then this is really nice. It's not quite as pistachio-y, but the nuttiness is the same, and it's sweet.
So I know that you have coveted for some time the Cartier Oud and Santal. Did you ever get a bottle?
I have. Oh, I've had an OG bottle for a long time.
Okay. Well, would you like me to ruin it for you? Because someone told me this the other day, and it ruined it for me. It's like the time that James Palmer told me that Creed Spice and Wood smells like pickle juice, and it's like, oh fuck yeah, it does. And now I can't smell anything other than pickle juice. Okay, are you ready for this? Cartier Oud and Santal is Killian Black Phantom without the coffee.
No, it's not. Absolutely not, because I've got that too, and I don't like Killian Black Phantom. I think it's a waste of space. The only reason it's still in my cupboard is because it's got that really nice skull box, whereas...
Try them next to each other.
The Oud and Santal.
Try them next to each other. Seriously, try them next to each other.
Okay, well, I
Killian
will.
Black Phantom minus coffee.
I'm not going to try them next to each other because in case it ruins it. Like someone.
It might improve Black Phantom for you then. You never know. Then you'll have an amazing box and a perfume that you'll like.
Black Phantom has just got rubbery and
wobbly.
Well, I mean, you say that, right? I've not smelled this Cartier Oud and Santal one, but I did smell the Pacha. Not very much, to be honest. I picked it up in the airport in 2020 and sprayed it and went, oh, it doesn't smell like the original, which is no reason to criticize it, because I don't want something that smells exactly like, but I love the original, right? So I was kind of a bit like, I know this is like 20 odd years later that they're making a parfum version just to be like, whatever, but I did like it, but I probably need more time with it because it wasn't particularly memorable, and I didn't buy it there and then on the spot, so I can't have been that enamored with it. However, it's interesting to hear you saying all these things about it, so I need to revisit it. But that would be lovely, thank you. But it's something you said there that made me think, I know it's gone.
It's gone.
Thanks. Thank you.
Anyway, right, good. Okay, well, that's gone. So, what else, Fliss?
Then, because I was on a bit of a Cartier trip, I tried the Panthère de Cartier, and this is also, I think this is the parfum
That's an amazing bottle. How cool is that bottle?
It's a really cool bottle, and I am desperate to like it. Every time I read about it, or whether it's in a book or on like Fragrantica or whatever, I'm like, I really want to like it, and I read the notes, and I think this should be absolutely in my wheelhouse, and then I buy a little tester or whatever, and I just can't get behind it. I think there's something about it that's just a bit cloying, and if I'm really honest, it smells a little bit like breastfed babies, that really sweet cloying, like not vomit, not horrible vomit, that kind of very sweet musty vomit.
Oddly specific.
Maybe I ruined. Well, I ruined it for myself actually. Then maybe Dan, but the moment I made that connection, now every time I try and wear it, I'm like, no, it does smell a little bit of baby sick.
Nice.
Not the horrible type of baby sick, though.
No, just
your own baby when it's newborn.
Nice baby sick. Weird. Okay.
You're all loved up and full of like, what's it called, oxytocin or whatever, and you're all like, oh, I don't care, be sick on my face, it's fine.
Sick on me.
Okay, I'm going to move you along now because I'm sick of the baby sick conversation. Have we got any other perfumes you'd like to mention, Fliss?
One very last one, very quickly, is I wore MDCI I think it's Les Andes Galant.
Oh, yeah.
Galant.
Yeah.
Les Andes Galant. And I really liked it. It was like really warm, candied fruit and spices. I remember wearing it a long time ago and dismissing it. But I wore it again and I really enjoyed it. And it's a really nice kind of Christmassy gourmand amber.
I don't think I've tried that one.
I probably won't. It's really refined and vanillic at the base. It smells, to me, it's going to sound really weird, but as if those Shalimar flankers, there's one called Route de Madagascar and Route de Vanille, which are impossible to get hold of. It smells like it could easily fit and be one of those. If I smelt it and someone said, guess what this is, I would guess one of those vanilla Shalimar flankers. I really liked it.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm sort of reluctant to prolong the first half too much longer, but I do need to ask if anyone's got any news.
Yeah, I've got really important news.
Really important. Okay, get on this.
Okay, quick news headline. So, my favourite artist is a guy called James Turrell, who does really big, grand, like space stuff with light and space and like the most amazing artwork. Like, I just completely love that guy. He's got a really amazing kind of thing where he bought all this land in Arizona and he's like hollowed out a cinder cone of an old volcano and like moved like millions of fucking pounds worth of dirt or something and like made this whole like installation. Amazing, just an incredible artist, like really great. He has done a collaboration and done 2 perfumes with Lalique. So they have amazing Lalique bottles that are designed by James Turrell. And I was like, if anything, I would spend like Roger Dove fortune. I mean, they'll probably be about $5,000. You know what I mean? There'll be some ridiculous price. But if I ever was going to spend money on that would be something that I would get because, like, it's like my wet dream.
They looked exquisite. Those bottles look like something else. They look like something from an art gallery that you would just have. You need like a big house with a big white hall.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be wasted on me. Be honest.
Yeah, I saw them. They look fucking incredible. No, fair play. Yeah. Good. Any other news people would like to shout about? No. All right, let's just do a quick double back to last week's Trick or Treat. I'm going to time box us. We've got a maximum of 6 minutes before I piss in my pants. So, I don't know.
Well, that's not going to make us hit the deadline, is it?
No, okay. We got 6 minutes before... we've got 6 minutes before something goes wrong.
That's just a challenge now.
Oh, you are a bunch of heartless twats. Right. So, would you like my notes on your tricks, James? Because I'm really bad at this and you haven't told me what they are. So I tried to do some blind read notes. So
Well, I did. This is interesting. I wasn't doing it deliberately to be the challenge, but
no.
I did tell you what they were last week. But yeah, I thought you probably won't remember, so it'll be fun just to try them.
All right, so I'm going to do them the other way round. So trick number 2, I wrote very weird was what I wrote to start with. It's got a dry parchment and dust sort of thing going on, and an odd medicinal, almost TCP smell, leading to something along the lines of creosote and possibly the more urinal sort of cake cedar.
Superb appraisal. That's excellent.
Okay, right. What is it?
I want to hear everybody out. What did Ben?
Okay.
I mean, did you get yours, Ben? Sorry.
No. Gimpy Postman.
Man. I think you'd like that.
No, it sounds like it, to be honest.
I loved it, and I think the reason I think that you would love it, Ben, is because I felt that it was like almost like Tonnerre Light. And I know we're
not allowed to say Tonnerre anymore.
I'm just going to beep it out.
It felt.
It can be.
Exactly.
Leave all the content.
It can be like like in Tarantino movie. I can't remember which Tarantino movie it is, but there's some sort of word that just gets beeped out so that you have to try and work out what the word is. Everything loses meaning without it. You should do that.
Yeah. So on all the episodes previously, we'll just re-upload them. But it felt to me that it's got this kind of quite green, hayish feel at the beginning, and then leathery smell and that almost gunpowder tar. It felt very much like all the bits of revolution of the Trudon.
Well, it's interesting. All those things that you both said are really that's wonderful, because it was Min moon dust. So when you said dusty and whatever, that is the Min New York moon dust. So if you get that moon, you remember I was saying about like everything smells a little bit like gunpowdery steak and all that kind of thing.
And you had that weird word for
regolith.
Regolith. Oh yes, the regolith. Yes, now I remember. Yeah. Okay. So does it have that cedary note? Does it have one of those cedar sort of accords?
It will do, yeah. Everything you both said, I'm like, the TCP, the whole thing, the dust. You even said dust as a word, which is like, if they hit the brief, well, that was it. So it does have like a moon, like a dusty, like a moon sort of vibe. It is very weird, and just an awesome perfume. Yeah,
very weird was what I wrote at the top of the page.
But it's great to wear. It's amazing to wear. It's like really, occasionally, I do like that, you know?
It certainly wasn't horrible. I mean, I was sort of expecting with Trick for it to be kind of really fucking awful for some reason, but neither of them were awful.
I didn't feel that it was a trick at all, because
this is it. I mean, if I own it, it's, you know, I was thinking, well, I don't really have many tricks, but these were ones that I just thought maybe. I mean, I've probably got other ones that are worse or more extreme, but anyway, sorry. What did you think of the other trick?
Well, before we get on to that, how did you get on with Herba Pura, or did you not try it?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, because I did get yours. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look round for the ones you sent. So you sent that Roger Dove that I completely slagged off.
The Roger, the Grossmith, which you liked.
Which I both wore,
Yeah, and the Herba Pura was my trick.
Yeah, I mean, the Herba Pura, I remember trying it when it was one of those, that other brand that wasn't...
Sospiro.
Xerjoff. Sospiro. That's why I was so confused. I remember spraying it in Fortnum and Mason and going, wow, that is ridiculously like sweet and whatever, and thought, you know, it's a bit of a stupid perfume, but there you go. But when you actually put it on your skin, it's fucking toxic, awful, awful, like it's terrible, toxic. And just tenacious as fuck, and just like, you know, being battered over the head with something that's mildly pleasant, and sort of the fruity accords and stuff. You go, oh, all right, and then it's just horrendous, like really horrendous.
It's like a cheerleader, you know, those kind of really offensively in your face, nice cheerleadery kind of movie, and then it just
too much energy fucking Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, too much energy. Too much energy.
I would like this to stop now. Stop the world. I want to Herba Pura get off.
It's horrendous.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad.
So I concur. We all think it's bad. So
yeah, good. All right. So your trick one. My notes were more conventional, floral, quite clean. I don't think it's jasmine. Maybe it's a weird violet. I wrote metallic, soapy, and aniseed.
Okay.
Probably way off.
Any thoughts?
I thought it was a lovely, light floral skin scent. On me, it was
very fleeting. It's probably one of the strongest perfumes I've got.
I found it really strong, yeah. I didn't wear it on skin, in fairness. I just sprayed it on paper to start with. But, I mean, it is strong as fuck. So I'm not quite sure.
I'd be interested to know what we need to do this anosmia episode, because I'm interested to know what Fliss can and can't smell, because, like, this is brutal. And it's this. So it's called...
it's the Bond number 9.
It's just the parfum, and it's an oud. It's like, it's just, it's all those things. It's kind of sweet. I don't even really know how to describe it. I pretty much hate it.
So what's it called again?
Bond number 9, the parfum. It's just parfum. Yeah, Bond number 9 is the brand.
They have this sweet...
Yeah, I know that. I wasn't sure. I didn't hear the...
They are notoriously litigious. I should have mentioned this on news, but didn't, because it wasn't a big enough deal. But harking back to the previous conversation about the Roger Dove Manhattan release, it has been shelved in America. Apparently, I say apparently because I don't have this confirmed. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but the story goes that Bond number 9 sent them a cease and desist letter. Saying that they couldn't trade, Manhattan Eau de Parfum was their
trademark,
registered brand, whatever. Yeah,
well,
they're notoriously litigious.
Well, that just adds the cherry on the top. Can I just do one thing, because I received Ben's? I'll just swiftly go through Ben's. Really liked that Ganache perfume One-Legged Joe. Weirdly. I thought it's completely overly sweet, like ridiculous. I don't think I could wear it, but I really liked that the actual sweetness of it is somewhat counterbalanced with that little coffee note. I actually think, clearly this person, when you were always going on about this Ganache perfumes, I was like, I probably don't care about this, but when I actually have tried it, I'm like, I actually quite this guy obviously loves his gourmand materials, and has actually made something quite interesting with that, which I was really surprised about. Then I tried Moth, which I thought was amazing. Sorry, Fliss. I thought Moth was fucking amazing. I'd wear that, 100%. Very Castoreum-y, I thought. Very, it's great. And it's honeyed. And I actually then listened back to it, because on the day that I was wearing it, I think I listened to the episode when you said about the night blooming flower. In fact, you were quite dismissive of it. Your original review, Fliss, was it encounters a night blooming flower and something to do with honey or something. I was like, yeah, that's great. Yeah. But it is very Castoreum heavy, I thought. Loved it. I think it's a great perfume, wonderful, and I would definitely wear it.
Well, it's just a bit of a surprise. The Moth was the big shocker with that, because pretty much everyone sort of didn't mind it. As at worst, I think.
Yeah. I thought it was good.
Yeah. Good. All right. What were you going to say there, Fliss?
Oh, no, I was just looking on the old Fragrantica on this Bond number 9 thing, and there does seem to be quite a distinct split between people who smell it as quite a light soapy musk and people who find that the oud is quite strong. So I wonder if there is a material that they use for the oud as opposed to a natural oud that clearly that a lot of people are unable to pick up. Because it's really interesting that you find it so strong, but I just can't at all.
Because that Amber Supreme, let's talk about that. I mean, that's not a really loud perfume or anything, but it's reasonably strong to the point where it lasts all day. But you were like, no, it's totally fleeting. I can't even smell it and stuff. So
it is quite a strong perfume, but it's quite a durable perfume, but it doesn't like sort of smell super strong to me.
No,
that one. Anyway, look, we have been going on and fucking on, and this is now, I think, probably the longest first parter ever. Not that I care. So, yeah, dead nice chat. Right, let's wrap up part one here. We will be back in just a moment after this brief musical interlude. Hello and welcome to part 2 of Les Oderants. This week we are going to be doing a house cup. So for those of you who don't know the format, we pick a house and we all make a case for what is the most important perfume in their catalogue. And we're deliberately sort of vague about the rules because the aim here is not to win, it is to have a conversation about perfume. So we just pick them and we talk about them. I guess
this is what Dan says when he knows he's picked a duffer.
No, I haven't picked a duffer.
I love how competitive you are, Ben. You're like, I'm going to fucking win this.
I get to judge, mate, so it doesn't really matter. If winning was important to me, I would just assign myself winner every time. I think, just a few words about Chanel as a house. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm on a soapbox about this stuff, but I don't think we can have a conversation about Chanel without mentioning the fact that Coco Chanel herself was a rabid anti-Semite and Nazi collaborator, and frankly, a pretty appalling specimen as a human. It is with some surprise, therefore, that I note that Chanel is incredibly popular amongst my Jewish friends and relatives as a designer brand. But I don't think she's got much to do with the house these days, given that she's been brown bread for donkey's years. So, notwithstanding that fact, which I feel, does need to be mentioned because, it'd be fucking shitty to just, pretend that kind of legacy wasn't there somewhere. I mean, the same could be said for Hugo Boss and frankly a number of other designers. But I wanted to just get that out of the way. The actual house was founded in 1910. They have what? Can't see how many perfumes they've got here. 135 perfumes on Fragrantica.
Which doesn't seem like that many, does it?
Well, not that they...
it's a lot, but...
They've been knocking them out for over 100 years, so it's only a little over one a year, actually.
Exactly.
So it's about 1.3 a year or something. So they've had...
Great maths.
Yeah, I know. Quick maths. They've done work with Polge, Ernest Beau, Olivia Polge, Henri Robert, Christopher Sheldrake, and many, many, many more. Now, I have a very, very clear view of what I think the most important perfume is, and I think I'll save mine for later on in the show. I'll pick on someone else to go first in a minute. But I did just pop in today to John Lewis because I had to buy shoes for my wife. But I approached the Chanel counter and I said, "Now you listen in, mug. You don't get fucking lemon with me." No, I didn't. I said, "Hello, my name's Dan." And I asked them about what the number one sellers were, because I was sort of interested in this, right? I know we'd previously, when we did the Dior one, I made the case for Sauvage because it was such a kind of massive seller. And masculine, most sold is, no surprise at all, it's Bleu de Chanel, right? Although I did quiz a bit on which version, because there's three. There's an EDT, EDP, and the Parfum. It is the middle one, the EDP, that outsells everything else, apparently.
So where is this? Sorry?
This was John Lewis that I asked him.
Oh, okay. Because I've got sales figures that I'll talk about later.
Oh, really? Are they different? They don't support this.
They are different.
Well, this
Well,
I asked what the most popular selling feminine one was in the UK, and she said, I mean, I don't think she was looking at
but
any logbook.
this is based on her experience.
Is this just Chanel?
Yeah, just Chanel. Yeah.
Okay.
This is based on her experience on the Chanel counter. This was not her looking up any fucking data or anything. But she said Coco Mademoiselle was the number one seller. And I just sort of assumed it would be Chanel number 5, but apparently not. Coco Mademoiselle, she said that they are making their sales figures for perfume almost entirely on the back of Coco Mademoiselle. And why not? It's very nice. I also asked her which her most recent one was, and it was, I think, called Paris. That was a weird name for a perfume. Paris. Like New York. So good they named it twice. Anyway, and that was one of the I don't know what that range is called, but it was very pleasant, very girly, sort of floral, fruity thing. So that was all the research what I did whilst buying shoes for my wife, extremely conveniently in the same building as the Chanel counter. So that is about as much in-depth analysis as you're going to get. I think Ben wants to go first. I think he wants to hit us up with these sales figures and show us what a fucking big fucking researcher he is. Go on, Ben. You go first. You make your case.
Interestingly, your introduction, more or less, I was like, shut up, or you're going to just give away my whole argument. Because it largely backs up like a lot of what... Because I'm going to come at this two-pronged attack with this one. My perfume, should say, is Bleu de Chanel that I've picked.
Really? This actually surprises me. You don't own a bottle of Bleu de Chanel, do you?
I do not own a bottle of Bleu de Chanel, and you'll notice from my argument that I do not talk about the smell of Bleu de Chanel once.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
And it's made by Jacques Polge, and obviously, it's pretty heavy. And I would suggest that it's in the most important perfume for the company and the consumer, right? And I'm going to make those two arguments. For the company, I think... This is no data to back this up, although we'll come to some data. But for now, like without data, I just thought about it when we were thinking about what one to pick. My feeling was that these days, I think Chanel has been dining out on number 5 for many a decade, right? I reckon that's been their flagship fragrance that has, funded them, been the bulk of their income for a long, long time, right? But I think that this sort of like more recent generation, last 20 years, I don't think they gravitate towards that, with things like Flower Bomb and stuff like that being like the market leaders for like teenage girls. I don't think they're going to grow up and go, I want a bottle of Bleu, like number 5. I think it's starting to look a little bit hokey and sort of done, right? So I would argue that Bleu de Chanel is their new flagship like money driver that's taken over from number 5. So I looked it up, right? So then this was my hunch, right? So I looked it up. Now, I got some figures which I couldn't actually get the sources for because I had to pay for the sources. But basically, it was a genuine. They gave the results of the study, but and all the kind of like details, but they didn't give you the source, like who done it. But basically, they estimate 735,000 users in the UK alone for Bleu de Chanel, but they don't differentiate which between parfum, toilette, whatever. Yeah. It's just that. And the second highest was Allure with 438,000. Sales figures for the fragrance shop had Bleu de Chanel as the second most sold fragrance, which I think is probably no surprise to anyone in the UK.
After Sauvage.
Sauvage, yeah. But more interestingly, because obviously that's kind of easy to guess, right? But in 2021, more interestingly, is the mixed, right? So Bleu de Chanel came in at 7th, which I was quite surprised, but number 5, not even in the top 10. In 2022, Sauvage was the top-selling fragrance between, mixed, like between women and men. Bleu de Chanel was number 2, and Chanel number 5 was number 6.
So
Coco was higher in both occasions. So that girl's perceptions were right.
But the
Coco outsold number 5 both years.
But number 5, did you say that dropped out of the top 10 and then came back in? Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't in the top 10 at all in 2021, but it was number 6 in 2022. So for some reason, it had a bump.
Well, they have different drives, don't they? I think it had an anniversary, didn't it?
Possibly.
Like, it's things like that. Or they.
Yes, it did. It was the 100-year anniversary, wasn't it? Because
it was released in 2022.
They had a new.
Yeah. There you go.
The face of it as well, I think. I'd need to
every so often they refresh, don't they? And probably gets a boost in sales, or people go, oh, there's a slightly different version, or what, or even if they've it's just that year's or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, sorry, Ben, go on.
Yeah, no, Chanel.
Yeah, so anyway, that's the cold kind of like data-driven part of my argument.
Right. Okay. What's the second
like
prong?
For the consumer? So for the consumer, I think, basically. So in 2010, you think about what else was out, I sort of feel like Bleu de Chanel was an idea of like a sort of natural progression from Allure Sport, and the idea that sort of sports frags, those blue sports frags, were kind of very 90s if you think about it. They're very like sort of frat boyish and tacky in a way, and they sort of feel like a baggy jumper now. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see the branding and all the rest of it, and I get the feeling that the possibly my sort of thinking is their brief was create a sort of sporty blue fragrance, because that clean, fresh sort of smell, that woody, clean, fresh thing is very popular in the mainstream. But when you look at the fragrances, they're starting to look a bit tacky and dated now. So my thinking was that perhaps they wanted to update that for like the modern man, if you like, and create this kind of classier sort of thing. And so the reason I think it's important for the consumer is like, the scent itself is not groundbreaking at all. Like, the scent itself is fucking boring. Like, I don't own a bottle of Bleu de Chanel. I have owned it, and I sold it as fast as I bought it. It was piss boring. But I think it's important for the mainstream in the sense that it gives a sort of a classier vibe to a scent that's always been popular. That mainstream blue scent has always been popular, but it brings a better, a sort of a classier face to it. Yeah. And you can see perfumes since have tried to get on that train. Interestingly, Sauvage, you could say, tried to get like backpack off it, but has superseded it. But why I don't think that's a problem for Bleu de Chanel is that I think Sauvage is still slightly tackier in some way, and and it's almost like a teenage boy fragrance. And so I think that plays well for Chanel, who will see it as like, well, those teenage boys will graduate to Bleu de Chanel.
True.
So happy days. Yeah. So that's why I think it's groundbreaking both for the consumer and for the company.
Well, that is a great argument, and we've talked about this before about how there's that sort of arms race between Chanel and Dior of we release, an EDT, then an EDP, then a parfum, and they've taken this on. I mean, this is over a long period of time because Sauvage, their answer to it was fucking a lot of years. I mean, when did
5 years apart?
5 years apart. There you go. So it took them a while to respond, but I think it's interesting that sort of seeded. Like, some people will have gone, oh, this is the slightly classier designer fragrance. Then they move on to like niche stuff or Parfum de Marly or whatever. But interestingly enough, the actual smell of Bleu de Chanel, I don't particularly like it. I've never owned it. I've never had it, but I have worn plenty of samples of it. And, I like it, but it's not inspired me enough to buy it, which, says everything really. But I think what's interesting is, and again, harking back to our aldehydes chat, so Chanel has this aldehydic sort of, the sparkle, if you like. So let's not even say it's aldehydes, but let's say they have a certain like effervescence. It's almost like, it's almost like champagne or something. People feel this classy thing. Bleu de Chanel definitely does have that in the olibanum, the incense aspect of it gives this little sparkle. And to me, that gives that little Chanel like calling card. I think as much of a shower gel fragrance as it is, it has that little sparkle of something which I like about it. I like the EDT. I don't particularly like the other two versions, but I like the EDT best.
It's interesting that you say that about having that sort of Chanel sparkle to it, because do you know what I was going to say? Like, and I forgot to sort of point it out because I didn't really talk about the smell too much, but I always felt like it felt more like a Hugo Boss release than a Chanel release to me. Like, it just seemed like something Hugo Boss might have released, and probably they're kicking themselves over it.
Well, I mean, I think when we did Dior, I made the case for Sauvage based on its kind of, I mean, pretty well on a similar basis, on its groundbreakingness and its commercial impact. And I think, those arguments resonate with me a lot. I actually have a bottle of the EDP. It's nice. It's a very nice perfume. I don't, you're never going to wear that and someone go, oh my God, that smells fucking disgusting. It doesn't. It smells pleasing and enjoyable. And that's kind of how, perfumes designed by, committee kind of end up, it's okay. But what I'm not sure about is whether it was truly sort of groundbreaking. I think you're right, actually, that it's the natural evolution of the 90s aquatic sports, polo sport. It's like it's what polo sport became, a few years down the line. And I could buy that, maybe it was a Boss or a Polo release or some other designer brand. Chanel did it. What I will say is I think the bottles look ever so classy. They're just really elegant. I really like just the plain blue sort of hunk of glass with just the very sort of minimalist lettering and stuff. Great. And I could totally see them being bought by, the boys who've grown up a bit. That progression from Sauvage to Bleu de Chanel probably works. Is it the most important fragrance? I don't know. Fliss, what do you make of the whole Bleu de Chanel thing and Ben's argument thereof?
I think he makes a very strong argument. There's somebody I follow on Instagram, who I'm not going to name, who calls Bleu de Chanel Blech de Chanel.
Blech.
Yeah, which always makes me laugh. Anyway, it is obviously, as a bestseller now, important now. I think there's something that I feel... I'm just going to... Okay. So I think it's really important to mention that when we said, let's do Chanel as next house cup, my suggestion was to modify the criteria and to say, well, we're going to talk about every release from Chanel since number 5, right? Because number 5 is such an important perfume, such an obvious cup winner, that I couldn't believe that nobody was going to talk about it. But then, obviously, all you guys were like, oh, no. It's not that important. You've got it, So then I felt like...
Is that how it happened?
Yeah. I said, surely it's every release of Chanel for the cup since number 5. And go back through your WhatsApps, love. And because I kind of feel...
Scroll up.
I kind of feel like that you can't talk about Chanel and not crown number 5 as the most important perfume of the house. It's kind of moot as far as I can work out, because it sort of... to say that it isn't the most important perfume, irrespective of whether you think it's nice to wear or not, it's kind of like a deep disregard for kind of the social economic history, not just perfume history, but like social history as a whole, because it has this deep, undisputed place within our culture, not just our culture, but almost the culture of the world at large. It's sort of unfathomably kind of...
Do you see it as something of a tragedy then,
for you to say,
judging by mine and Dan's sale figures that we've, painstakingly mustered up, that clearly it's not a seller anymore? It's...
Well, no, I'd say that for something that is over 100 years old, that is still selling a bottle every 30 seconds,
is it really still selling that? Because if it is, that would make Sauvage and Bleu de Chanel selling every, second. Because, it's not even in the top 10.
Yeah, maybe they are around the world.
Entirely possible. I mean, I haven't done the maths there. But,
yeah, and we've all pulled these quotes out of the blue, yet none of us can actually back them up. You know what I'm saying? And
out of the blur.
Or out of the blur.
Out of the blur. There's something that's
hang on.
ubiquitous.
When we quote a stat, you know it's been quoted. It is
it's been
scientifically
quoted by you, though. I mean, you both admitted that you can't back.
No, I've got sources for mine.
What the fuck?
No, you said your source was just a chat with a lady at a counter.
Yeah.
You did, to be fair.
Yeah, I did. Oh, right, yeah, but...
Some hearsay
But I said
it. From Mavis in John Lewis. I don't know if
No, I think that... Well, no, that is important feedback. It's not kind of like global sales figures or anything, but it is important. And I think it's important to... Because I often ask at counters just to see... I mean, it might be your area. Do you know what I mean? It might just happen to be there that, they'd sell more of that particular perfume. So it might not be reflective of what's really going on.
Yeah, Mavis, as she will now be called, thanks to Fliss's endeavours, Mavis did say that she was quoting figures only for the UK, quoting figures.
But also, I want to continue with my argument.
Well,
because I kind of feel like I was interrupted.
Yeah, no. Continue with your argument, but what I will say, just in respect of your argument so far, is it's a pretty piss poor. No, I think you're doing very well. It's a good argument, and I think essentially, Chanel No. 5 is clearly like this icon, this kind of it's part of everybody's culture.
For me, which is fantastic. Well, it is clearly.
Well, no. This is what you said, but you also said that it was the first one kind of thing. And without Chanel No. 5, there is no Chanel. I mean, it's possible that Gardenia might have.
It's like you're reading my notes, to be honest, because that's.
Okay, sorry, I'll shut the fuck up.
One sec. Like in danger of like. Sort of like driving us off, or driving us too much onto course. Fliss, is Chanel No. 5 your perfume?
Yeah.
Have we started is this like your argument?
Yeah. She segued beautifully out of the Bleu de Chanel.
Right, okay.
And, she didn't even challenge you. She was just like, and here's why this dickhead is wrong.
This is why you're wrong.
Yeah. So go on, keep making your argument. Let's hear it. I mean, it's all wrong anyway.
I'm so exhausted. I was like, whatever, just speak, Fliss. Basically, I just say you can literally go anywhere on the planet, and there's nowhere where Chanel No. 5 isn't ubiquitous, it isn't immediately recognisable. Just the silhouette of the bottle alone is like the blueprint of every perfume bottle ever since, And there's this, the name of it is synonymous with luxury, is synonymous with taste.
Marilyn Monroe.
My next words were Marilyn Monroe wore it, Andy Warhol painted it. Books have been written about it, and it's
Nazi collaborators
made it. Well, they made all, whatever. But it's
shit, though, isn't it? Shit perfume, isn't it?
Undisputedly, absolutely the most important bedrock of the whole house. And it's still being worn today.
Of the whole perfume industry, you could say. Let's forget Chanel. Let's just say it is.
But do you think, right, that just because it was like iconic in its and totemic in its in its history or whatever, do you think that still makes it relevant today? Because I would argue that
I do. I think it's like I don't think it is. It's like you don't have to read Shakespeare every day to know that the influence that he's had on language and world culture in general. Chanel No. 5 is the same. You don't have to be wearing it every day. You don't have to be even liking it now. The influence of it is the veins of the perfume industry.
It's a great analogy. It
is a great analogy because I can imagine a teenager smelling it and hating it as much as they hate reading Romeo and Juliet.
Because because the language of like perfume.
I'm just looking at it and going, this is completely irrelevant to life today. Why am I smelling this?
Actually, Ben, on that point, it's not the fact that its history makes it relevant today. It's the fact that it is still relevant today and still selling, albeit, maybe not top 10 fragrances in the world. But the fact that it is still selling today is kind of what reinforces its status as being kind of iconic, really. It's not that it used to be iconic, is it still relevant? The fact it is still relevant makes it iconic. I think that would be a better argument.
Yeah.
Let's go from a technical point of view that perfumers and people who are interested in perfume still study that structure as a given, that you need to understand that to not to make perfume. You don't need to understand it, but to have a formal sort of training or whatever, it's a really good perfume formula to look at. And sort of, I did have another kind of point to that. Yeah, what you said about Shakespeare, right, was that like perfume is a sort of language, right? And the fact that like Shakespeare has like turns of phrase and literally words that he invented, right, that didn't exist, that are still used today, and we don't even know.
Yeah.
Hobnob. Hobnob. There you go. I mean,
Hobnob.
they're great biscuits, aren't they? But I don't know. Did he make them as well?
How did we get onto hobnobs?
Anyway. No, through
Shakespeare invented the word hobnob.
Yeah.
What, did he invent the biscuits?
There's loads of words, isn't there?
There's huge.
That was my really poor joke that kind of is just sort of floating in the bowl like a
like a turd in the punch bowl.
Again, you're making my argument for me, James, which is all of the fragrances that you're
I don't need to make your... I'm not arguing with you. I'm fully concur with everything you're saying.
It's like,
I'm just...
Everything is just all of the fragrances.
You desperately want someone to argue with you, don't you? You want to be like, no.
Yeah, but does it sell as much as Bleu de Chanel?
But
No.
the argument, the question is not what sells more. The argument is what is the most important fragrance of the house.
Exactly, and we can't win.
100%.
None of us can win.
Wrong.
Because you're completely right.
Wrong.
About
I will win because I'm the decider. So
Go on then. What's your perfume?
no, I'm not going yet. Oh yeah, no, fuck it, I'll go.
that. I'll go now. I'll go now. if you
Well,
want.
hang on.
Or do you want to go?
Has Fliss finished making her case? Have you got any further to add?
Well, I had quite a lot, but I mean, you all keep jumping in and out.
Sorry, go on, Fliss. I'll shut up now.
Is it more fun listening to this or being part of it?
I don't think it's more fun listening, to be fair.
Right. I quit. I'm going to go listen. Okay. No, seriously, have you got any other points?
We've been doing wrong all this time.
Go. I'm laughing now, so I'll just make a mess of it.
Right, James, you can go.
Oh, thanks. Okay, mine's going to be really quick because this is just completely based on my own personal thing about it. It's Cuir de Russie.
Thank God for
it's
that.
an amazing perfume. It was kind of an education for me in that I knew an older lady who was a perfume collector and also like sold perfume at like a secondhand market thing, and she had like literally like 19 fucking 20s bottles and like all of like everything, like old like Caron and stuff, and very kindly let me try some of them. And obviously it was inspired by Mademoiselle Chanel's encounter with the Grand Duke Dimitri, which was basically it was in her slut period. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, slut era.
It was in Coco's slut era. When she was just like fucking Nazis and like random Russians and stuff. That she basically...
She was a Nazi
It's true,
fucker.
isn't that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Straight up Nazi fucker.
But anyway, she fucked Russians as well. So,
right.
And so she was... or she just fancied this guy, or had it away with a fantasy with some like Russian troops who had like birch tar on their boots. And basically that's where it comes from. So the leather boots were like... had birch tar to like tan them or whatever, and that was part of the inspiration for it. Now, again, the older stuff is a bit more stinky, is a bit more. I'd say the EDP, even the kind of recent ones, or is it the EDT? The EDT was kind of better than the recent ones. Not better, but just like this one that I've got here is a bit toned down. The sort of new, is it EDP? Yeah. It's just an amazing fragrance.
Accepted that those old EDTs that have all now been discontinued are all better than the EDPs.
True. I mean, yeah, but it's kind of nitpicking, but like it's true. And yeah, it's a kind of animalic, floral smell. It's probably my favorite perfume of all time, of any genre, anything. I love Quid Russie, and that is it, really. I'll just say it's an icon.
Can I just double check? Your argument is this is the most important perfume in the Chanel house because it's your favourite and you are the arbiter.
Mm-hmm.
Did you expect anything else?
And who's to say he's wrong? Who's to say he's wrong?
Well,
I mean, it's my job to say he's wrong.
I'm checking his angle. I'm just checking his angle.
No. My angle is that like Fliss is obviously right about the number 5 stuff because we fucking know that, right? But I'm just trying to put forward another Chanel perfume that I think is important. Yeah, like Bleu de Chanel's important. Yeah, Coco's important. Okay, I can come forth in this. I don't fucking care. Because I think that Quid Russie, in terms of like being a floral perfume, because there's a few in this kind of like thing of like there's like Knees 10 or whatever, and there's some of these other animalic floral perfumes that came along that were leather, right? But I personally think this is the iconic one that sort of originally kind of started it, right? So I'm not saying you wouldn't have what's that Dior one? What's that Dior one in the Privé line or whatever? It's like a floral Queer Canage. So I don't think you'd necessarily have a Queer Canage or like some of these other kind of perfumes like that without Quid Russie. And I kind of see like I don't know. Like I say, this is a really poor argument for me. Personally, I just like it. I think it's iconic in terms of like Chanel stuff. Yeah, okay. Like in terms of the Les exclusives, let's just say that okay, it's a reimagined version because there was quite a few years when they didn't make Quid Russie, I believe. So they made it like up until the point it hasn't always constantly been in production. I don't think. Quote me if I'm wrong. I don't think that's the case. But anyway, I think up until like Le Lion sort of now, I'm not saying all the other Chanels are shit. They're all really good. But that one and then Le Lion are the two sort of iconic ones for me in the Les exclusives.
I think Le Lion is so important because it's like we talked about the other day. It's just so different and something really...
Le Lion, the funny thing about Le Lion is it smells quite a lot like Roger Duff Parfum de la Nuit No. 2.
And Shalimar.
And Shalimar.
James is just going to have a meltdown now. Move on. Dan, what's your perfume?
Okay. So actually...
Quick, before he explodes.
I'm taking a similar approach today.
Don't get fucking lemon with me. You mug.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, well, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah. Don't get fucking lemon with me, you fucking mug. You muggy fucking cunt. Right, anyway, I don't know what one of that. So I've chosen also a sort of idiosyncratic perfume in the sense that it's important to me. And the perfume I'm choosing is Egoiste. So the reason Egoiste is such a big deal to me is that so Egoiste was released when I was about 14, 15. So it was a point where I was I just recently discovered perfume. I'd sort of had a few bottles which I'd got when I was 13 for my bar mitzvah and stuff, and I was sort of really taken by the idea of it. And they released a TV advert. I don't know if you remember
with the girls just
with the doors, shouting some random, random French fucking words, shouting Egoiste.
It's like every girl was in a different like 90s, early 90s slip dress. looking like that.
It was
Papa girl.
Yeah, Nicole. Exactly, and that advert just blew my mind because I'd never seen imagery like that, and it was set to actually another mention for Romeo and Juliet. It was Prokofiev's the Montagues and the Capulets. You know, exactly.
Chanel pour l'homme en exclusivité chez.
I fucking love that, and it just I was like 15.
That is a banger. It is.
It just blew. It is a banger. It just blew my fucking. Yeah, but it just blew my mind. I mean, it was like artistic fucking overload. You know, everything else in my life at the time was, you know, we talked about avocado bathroom sets and stuff. You know, avocado bathroom sets, brown carpets, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then here's this fucking video, this. I mean, it's a TV advert, but it's a piece of art, and it just blew my fucking mind. And it, I guess that was the anchor for me that sort of associated perfume with art and aspiration in some sense. And I remember like just badgering my mum over and over and over and over to get me a bottle of Egoist. She actually bought me Egoist Platinum by mistake sometime later.
Rookie mistake, that one.
Well, it's a very nice perfume anyway. Apparently Egoist Platinum outsold Egoist, but whatever.
It's not about sales figures, is it though? You've already done that bit. Yeah.
No, it's not. You know those, they used to do like little... I guess little testers. Yeah, they still do samples, but I'm sure they used to have like, maybe they were bigger when I was a kid or whatever, but I used to basically go into Boots and sort of snaff
No,
on.
Dan, you were smaller.
Yeah,
No, you were Butter Stumps, remember?
Butter Stumps, exactly. My daughter's friends now call me Butter Stumps, which is ridiculous.
We should call you Butter Stumps.
Yeah, please don't. Thank you for remembering that. Now I've lost my train of thought, you cunt. You bucking lemon.
About the samples in your little tiny hands and how big the samples were.
Yeah. Oh, look at these massive samples. Yeah, exactly. I had a handful of samples that I'd stolen. I used to wear Egoist to school, all boys school, 15 years old. No one else is into fucking perfume. Why would they be? But there's me, fucking rocking Egoist, and it has always been there, sort of in the background for me, as a sort of seminal kind of moment in my obsession with perfume. It's, you know, I think everyone remembers the fragrance that first caught them, and I can remember the first fragrance I had and all that stuff, but if it's like, where's the point where I went from this smells nice to fucking hell, this is in my mind, this is like in my head, it's somehow got underneath my skin. That was that moment when I saw that advert. And so for me, Egoist will always be the most important Chanel perfume.
Well, it's interesting. I thought this is kind of like a sort of clever bit of like performance art or something, because you were like, let's talk about me, and I like me and all this, because, right? Well, that's how I heard it, because I was the same.
Really?
I was the same. No, I was the same, but I thought it was kind of because egoist literally means selfish,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And it was a poll of Parisian women. They actually, before they came up with the name for the perfume, they asked them, what is the defining characteristic of men, French men? And most of them said bloody selfish, which is just like, you fucking cheeky else? You know
well,
what I mean?
I can't speak on French men, having never been a French man.
I mean, it's fucking a bit like rich, that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? They've gone around and they've gone...
Maybe. But I wasn't really talking about me. I was talking about why I fucking think Egoist is such an important perfume.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of other perfumes by Chanel that sort of deserve, a mention. I think, I quite like all the Allure ones. None of them really blow my fucking skirt up exactly, but I quite like them. But then, there's a few from that range like Boy and Coromandel.
I hate Coromandel.
Yeah,
I really hate it. It's really hyped, and I think it's awful.
No, I also don't like it, but I don't think there's any arguing that's a good piece of work. It does smell a bit old womany cat piss to me.
Well, Fliss isn't allowed to have it, are you?
I know, I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed it in the house.
Allowed it in the house because my husband thinks it smells of dead chickens.
Like
I do have
chicken?
dead chicken, like rotting chicken carcass. But I do have a little 30ml decant that I kept back just in case he ever really, really angers me. Spray.
Yeah, spray.
Have some chickens, you bastard.
What about Sycamore?
Oh, beautiful. Just beautiful.
Yeah, I really liked Sycamore as a vetiver perfume. It's I think it's sort of quite under the radar. People don't talk about Sycamore in sort of reverential terms, or well, maybe they do, but I haven't come across them. But
what's that kind of green one? There's a green one.
Number 20. Is it number 22?
Bel Respiro? Is it called Bel Respiro?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know Bel Respiro.
Yeah, that's a really nice perfume.
That's one of Les exclusives.
Very bland opinion, but
Well, yeah, I mean that's interesting. That I'm looking at this list of 135. How many of these would you? And I fucking hate the term masterpiece, right? But how many of these would you, if you were having to pick out a Hall of Fame, like an all-time Hall of Fame, how many of them would you really put into your kind of all-star?
What? Not just Chanel? You mean
no, from Chanel?
Perfumes?
No, from Chanel. Yeah, but
okay.
Your Hall of Fame can be any perfumes, but how many?
Sure.
From Chanel would you put in there?
Exactly. I'd sort of struggle because there's a lot of them that I see kind of on the same level. Like as a brand and as an aesthetic and as a whole thing, I appreciate them sort of as a whole. My favourite ones personally are Coco EDT. Cuir de Rossi, obviously. What else do I have? Rue Cambon, 31 Rue Cambon.
So nice.
I mean, what else? I really like, even though it's cheesy and quite rubbish, really, and it's not very Chanel. It's probably the least Chanel, but I kind of like it for that. That really awful Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. Do you know that one?
Oh yeah, it's not bad.
It's really tonka bean heavy and like orange blossom, like curdling weird thing. But I think that's cool. I'm
sort of surprised you like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised I like it as well. Again, it probably wouldn't go in my top 5, but I think it's quite an interesting perfume. See, I'm struggling because there's loads of other ones that I kind of rate on this sort of like similar level. But
I agree with you. I think there's a lot from that exclusives line that I really like, but there's another perfume from another house that I think does the job, or not necessarily does the job slightly better, but moves me more.
Bolder. It's more bold.
They're all incredible.
There's not many that I would pay for, like for the money they're charging. It puts me off very quickly, and I think that's like an ideal way of saying if you really like it or not, if you're bothered about the price. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are perfumes where you smell and you think, don't care, I'm going to buy it. But those, it's like, they're good. I really like them.
The ones I have, if I hadn't bought them
price.
in the grey market, I wouldn't have them. And when I cleared out my
precisely, I think
over the last couple of years, I was surprised how many of the Chanel exclusives I sold, because I'd have thought I'd have kept them in, and I didn't.
Yeah,
I think when you've got a giant collection, unless you're like somebody, I think they're a kind of a safe bet. But a lot of the time when you're a perfume collector, you tend to think that you'd like safe bets because then you're not getting rid of stuff and getting stuff again and whatever. But you actually are not that attracted to the safe bets. Like, I go through periods of being like, oh yeah, actually loads of Chanel and Dior would be good because they're quite solid things. But that's quite a boring outlook to have, isn't it? You want to have weird things and like things from different brands and in different bottles and stuff. So as good as the Chanel like stuff is, I don't think I would ever be like, you know, buying huge amounts of it or having a huge collection of it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, how many Chanel bottles do you actually own?
So I've got...
I don't know, not many.
Ben says one. Which one?
Le Lion is all I own.
Le Lion. Right, okay. Right.
I have owned more, but right now I only own one, so I sold all the rest. And to be honest, I've thought about selling a Leon.
Oh, I'd buy it, definitely.
I was going to say, you talk to us first, Talented, right now on the grid.
I'll take your fucking hand off.
Nice. Okay, I've just done a quick audit. I think I have 4, which are Allure Edition Blanche.
I've got that, yeah.
Yeah, Bleu de Chanel, and then Egoiste Platinum and Egoiste.
Yeah, I have both of those as well, actually. So, yeah, I probably have about 7 or 8. Oh, you've got Antaeus?
Oh, shit, yeah, I've got Antaeus as well. Yeah, good point.
So
it's always good when you can remember my collection better than me.
well, this is it. I mean, I can't even remember my own fucking collection. So that I've probably got those similar ones. I've got that Allure one that I said, the other one. And
Kashi. People abbreviate.
Yeah,
Kashi.
yeah. I've got the Coco EDT, and that is it really. So yeah, about 6 is that or something? 7? I don't know, 6 or 7. So yeah, and obviously Rue Cambon and Quai de Russie. I would maybe. I mean, Coromandel has never really sort of done it for me particularly.
No.
I do like that Bel Respiro one, but again, I'm not mad for going out and getting it. There's loads of other sort of solid ones that I maybe would have, but I'd have to wear them a few times. And Chanel samples, would just put this out there, are thin on the ground. You can't just get them, right? You can't really buy them online either, really. I mean, it's ridiculous, you know? So you kind of have to try them in the shop, and it's a bit like, I've bought so many dud things just buying them in a shop, you know, trying them in a shop. So
when I some minor insight into the way my brain works, but when I sort of have that kind of panic attack that, you know, it's not reasonable to own 250 bottles of perfume, this is ridiculous behaviour, I must divest many of them. What I tend to sell first is stuff that I know that can be replaced reasonably easily. And Chanel, a lot of them fall into that category of me always knowing that, you know, I can just walk down to fucking Boots and buy it if I miss it enough. And it sort of becomes a bit... It's a stupid fucking argument, but it basically becomes Meatloaf. By which I mean, right, I never needed to own a Meatloaf album because Meatloaf was just on everywhere all the time. You know, you could always fucking, you know, you could always expect to turn on a radio and hear a Meatloaf track. And Chanel has the same sort of effect. I don't really need to own Chanel perfumes because they're everywhere. I could probably, you know, if I had a decent warm-up, I could probably throw a ball and hit half a dozen stores that sold Chanel perfume. Like, despite the fact that Chanel is obviously, well, you know, I mean,
no, you can't. I'd have to travel for miles to find a fucking Chanel. Since Devon was closed.
I live in Manchester, so I mean,
I know you do, but imagine most people who don't live in like a big city or whatever probably don't have access to a Chanel.
Boots.
Yeah, but they don't sell Les exclusives, do they?
No. They don't.
No, they don't.
I mean, a proper Chanel
you just moved the goalposts.
But even a lot of Chanel counters don't sell the Les exclusives either.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You want a proper Chanel counter that sells.
Yeah, that's not
everything.
that's not what I was getting at. Really, I was just thinking more of the high streety stuff.
The ubiquitous nature of the brand means
So if I'm ever short of money, I can sell my Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum for some quick readies, knowing that I can just buy it again next month should I really feel I miss it. Not that A, I'm that hard up that I need to do that, or B, I have any intention of doing it. But I sort of know I can. And when I tend to do this, occasional downsizing, it's never the money. It's always just that having too many perfumes gives me this sort of creepy anxiety that it's like, it's sort of, I look at it and it's like looking at the fucking evidence of my kind of insanity. Yeah. So it makes me sort of go, what the fuck, man? And then I sell all the stuff like Bleu de Chanel and what have you. But anyway, don't know where I was going.
I know what you mean. Like I say, I know what you mean, and I am moving the goalpost slightly. But I think that's just because I think that the Les exclusives generally are like much better than the regular line. I mean, maybe that's like just fucking blasphemous to say.
No,
but
I agree with you completely. I don't. Of the Chanels
I can't really think
I own, I don't. And Chanel's I have ever owned, there's only ever been Les exclusives.
Which do you own at the moment, Fliss?
At the moment, not very many. I own Le Lion and I own Jersey. I have a very.
But you've got that little cofferette thing.
I've got a little cofferette, but that was a gift. I didn't go out and buy that. That was a gift from a friend.
What's in that?
It's.
What's?
I shall go and get it. Show you.
It's got everything in.
It's got everything. Oh, really?
Well, I don't think quite everything, but it's got a lot in.
It's basically a coffer. It's got.
Oh my goodness!
Everything. It's got all of the exclusives.
That's cool.
In. Yeah.
And what are they,
cute,
like little 5 ml bottles or something?
I think they're 5 or
And do they spray or are they dab?
They're dab. But it's got.
I hate dabbers.
Well,
they
you know, you
drive me
could always
fucking
decant,
mad.
couldn't you, if you really wanted to? But
No.
it does mean that I have access to all of the exclusives if I want to have.
Which is cool because you can sniff them whenever you want and go, do I want to get
I've
this?
done that twice this week already.
That's really cute. So has that got boy in as well then? So it must have boy.
It does, yeah. But I think I.
And what was your verdict on boy?
It doesn't have boy in here actually.
I think that's older than boy. I think that
it's older than
predates boy.
I liked boy, but I wasn't. It didn't move me, and it was quite fleeting on me. And I ended up using the 5 ml that I sourced really quickly, and I liked it. Well, it was there, but it wasn't. There wasn't any heft to it, and I wasn't like, oh my god, I need it.
So are they the EDTs then that you've got there? They probably are.
No, I haven't even checked.
I bet they are.
I bet they are as well. Because you're right, it is quite ancient.
I'm quite surprised.
It doesn't even say
that you picked Egoist, Dan. I thought
Really?
I thought you were going to go for Anateus or something because Egoist is quite. I mean, I know because we're all kind of of a similar age, and that it's about that sort of time for like a kind of seminal kind of coming of age perfume kind of thing. But yeah, I just thought you might have gone for something a bit less honey and thick and a bit more green.
He's
and a bit more
one that moves him.
Yeah.
It was Egoist was one of the first experiences I had of perfume that smells different at the start to the end, right? Like manifestly different.
Yeah.
So it opens up, in this very big, almost kind of like fruity sort of thing, but it ends up in this kind of like really earthy, dark sandalwood, and just the transformation. It was one of the first times I sort of really ever wore a perfume and sort of thought, wow, this really smells fucking different. at the end than it did at the beginning. Because a lot of those ones that have come before, certainly, I mean, most of the ones I'd had before were kind of, I guess, things like Sybaris and Quorum and stuff. And whilst they do develop, they are reasonably linear, whereas Egoist is completely non-linear.
Yeah. I think the most interesting sort of aspect, the most sort of compelling bit of kind of you picking Egoist, and I understand the advert and all that kind of stuff and what it means to you. That is extremely important to how you view perfume. But I think from a technical aspect, I think that the Egoist is a really, really landmark perfume in terms of a sandalwood, in terms of perhaps a male, perfume or a male marketed perfume. I think the actual sandalwood accord in it is still marvelled over, although it's perhaps changed a little bit, and maybe down to maceration and different things. I've actually got a vintage mini of Egoist that I can just see in the corner of the room that I completely forgot that I had, and I'm like, oh shit, I've got that. So and that smells incredible, right? And the recent version that I've got, I mean, my bottle's probably quite a few years old, but even still, I know that like people obviously kind of like revere the old stuff, and I just think it's a wonderful sandalwood perfume that still is really rich and interesting, and it's got to be one of my favorites. And I know just from talking to other people who are into perfume, even if they're not completely mad about that, they know about it. They know about it. It is a landmark sandalwood perfume. Without doubt.
Kind of correct me if I'm wrong, right? But like just sort of like from I haven't thought about this until we've been talking about it now. So like I've got nothing to back this up. But if you look at the sort of men's quote unquote men's fragrances from Chanel that they've released over the years, they've all been quite a distance apart, and so they've all been for the company sort of commercially speaking, quite landmark things, right? Like they've all been. Like they didn't pump them out like 10 a penny. They were like 5-10 years apart. So like Egoist would have been as big of a deal to Chanel as Anateus and Bleu de Chanel and all the others. Like the two others.
Absolutely.
I think they've only got 4 or 5, haven't they? So
yes.
So yeah, I mean
that is a really good point.
They would have been like, they wouldn't have just tossed them out there casually. Like. I doubt they toss anything out casually, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, this is it. That's something that I really respect about Chanel as well, and I think we touched on it with Le Lion. They don't feel under pressure. I don't feel, and you can say, I mean, really, the Sauvage was Dior's answer to Bleu de Chanel, but Bleu de Chanel really was, like you say, iconic and came out at a time when it was like reinventing that aquatic bullshit from the 90s, but for a new, classier sort of take on it or whatever. And so they don't do things by halves, and that is one thing that you've got to respect about Chanel. They just sort of take their time, and they don't feel under pressure, because this is part of what pisses me off about the industry generally, is that brands feel under pressure to bring something new out and always be in the face and keeping up with the thing, and to the detriment of their actual brand and keeping the quality at a certain level, because they're just jumping on bandwagons or everyone's got to try and make money. I understand all that. But like Chanel, because they're so iconic and they've just got this underlying like success, they don't feel the need that they have to do that. And they could easily fall into that trap, but I don't think they do.
Why are they so iconic? Where does that base come from?
Yeah. Fliss wins.
Those really, that initial release is what they, every fragrance we've talked about stands on the shoulders of the giant that is Chanel number 5.
How elegant. If we finish now, this will be like the most elegantly structured podcast we've ever made.
Yeah, but we're not going to.
That's it.
Fan. Okay, well, actually, it's time to wrap this shit up. By a stroke of miraculous luck, I win. and I win because I get to... No, I think actually... Yeah, I think everyone's made nice arguments, but I think probably we all know Fliss has to win this one. I don't think you can really argue with number 5. It is, no number 5, arguably no perfume industry, or at least no number 5, certainly a very different perfume industry to that which we see today. So hard to argue with that being their most important fragrance. But I've enjoyed it, as always. It's been a right laugh. Any final thoughts from anyone on Chanel or indeed anything else? James?
No.
No? What?
No.
No,
That's it.
I've got no other thoughts. All right, Ben, any other thoughts from you?
I suppose, no, because we're just going to... Well, interesting, though. Well, because I agree. I do think that Chanel No. 5 is the most important fragrance. I think you'd be, slightly cuntish to kind of disagree, right? And open to...
I disagree.
A good sort of okay, right. So let's just move on from that.
Start the podcast again.
But what's interesting is that Cocoa is outselling it. And does that mean that Cocoa is going to be some kind of future number 5 in 100 years' time? Are people going to be talking about Cocoa as something?
I don't think it will be because...
No, me neither.
But I think... I don't think there can be another number 5. It's like...
Do you mean Coco Mademoiselle? Did you say Coco Mademoiselle? Not
Coco. Yes, Coco Madame. It's Coco Mademoiselle, not Coco. Coco's a different perfume, I think. Yeah, but the Coco Mademoiselle is the one that sells the absolute shitloads. But they're just... I don't think there can be another number 5. It's sort of like... So it's a fucking stupid analogy, but in maths there's a concept of an idempotent function, and the easiest way so the easiest way to explain an idempotent function is a light switch. Okay, a light switch is on or off. Right.
What's a light switch?
Okay. So yeah, you're going to be difficult now, aren't you? So it's on. So it's on or off, right? It's got a binary state, on or off. You can't turn it on again when it's on. If you just keep pressing on, it's still on. It doesn't do anything else, right? So it's that first time you turn it on, that's when you get the sort of the action. That's when the light comes on. By turning it on again, by creating Chanel number 6 or number 7 or whatever it is that follows number 5, you're not achieving some new fucking spike. You're just retreading the same old ground. It was that first thing, that singularity. That's what number 5 is, and I
you're
think
always in the shadow of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
but surely Chanel number 6 is better.
These amps go up to 11. My point is, once it's been done, you can't do it again. You can't, Coco Mademoiselle will not be looked upon as Chanel number 5 because it's not breaking it's not creating a market or it just happens to be commercially very successful, but it's not somehow launching a whole new fucking market, which is what number 5 did. So I don't think there will be another number 5 because there's already one. It's an item.
To extend on my
function.
argument, though, do you think that Bleu de Chanel is creating another market? Because I still think my argument was pretty solid, and I think it would have won if it was not for the fact that Chanel No. 5 is such an immense perfume. Because I do think Bleu de Chanel is pretty fucking, like I say, it's not groundbreaking scent wise, but I think it is. It's
not, but I think what Bleu de Chanel and Sauvage from Dior and indeed Creed Aventus are doing essentially is they are. They've been the sort of battering ram that has opened up the market for perfume for men in a much more sort of way. I suspect, if you go back 20 odd years, the idea of perfume for men probably sounded utterly preposterous to lots of people. It's like, what do you want to smell like? What do you want to smell like a tart's knickers for? It's ridiculous. I affect a strong northern accent for that.
There's always that stat that was like 90% of British men don't even wear perfume or whatever. I pulled that out of my arse. I don't know where it comes from. Like we said, no source for that at all. But it was kind of like something that was always regurgitated back in the day, which I always just thought, it must probably be sort of true if it comes, people say it enough.
Yes, been repeated often enough.
Must be sort of true. People say it,
I expect
no, but I mean, perfume is growing like hugely, isn't it? Exponentially, like growing.
Exactly. But I think women have always there's always been a market for women's perfume, but for men, I think obviously people like us have always been into fragrance, but for that mainstream. Fragrances like Bleu de Chanel, Sauvage, etc. Those are the things that are kicking down the doors and broadening out the market penetration, so to speak, of fragrances being worn by men. I don't know if you can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. If it leads to more people choosing to wear better fragrances, then I guess it's a good thing. If the sum total result is that just lots and lots of people wear Sauvage and Bleu de Chanel, if that's where the train stops, then probably it's not that great a thing. But if it leads to something else, if it pulls through into sort of people experimenting,
the gateway drug.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. And I guess Egoist was my gateway drug. Right. Okay. So gateway drugs notwithstanding, any final thoughts from yourself, Fliss?
No, none at all. No. It's been fun.
Yes.
Well, I said no, but I agree that I forgot to say that I agree that number 5 is obviously the thing. So.
Yeah, I think we all probably just took that one as read anyway, because when we were talking about it on WhatsApp, we sort of knew what the answer would be. But this has been Fliss's
teased
first.
Me into doing it.
Goaded you into it, so that you could have this, victory from your first house
right,
cup.
And then so I have victory now, and then you blood me later. Fantastic.
Indeed. We'll have
you get one, and then that's.
So which ones have we done now? We've done Chanel, or we've done Dior, Hermes, and did we do another one?
I think that might be it.
We've done 3. Yeah.
Is it 3? Really? Okay, we must do some.
I think
more
we should do Bulgari at some point.
Ooh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I might need to get some more Bulgari fragrances on. Yeah, cool. Well, look, it's been fucking real. As always, it's my favourite part of the fortnight. So thank you very much, and for everybody listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please drop us a line. All the contact details are in the show notes. And until next time, from Les Oderants, I don't know. I fucked that up, didn't we? Didn't I? Until next time. All of us at Les Oderants. From all of us? What the fuck am I saying? Oh, fuck off. Goodbye. It's been brilliant.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.